The show on YouTube, youtube.com/D3Hoopsville. I know it's working because I just checked it out. So we're up and running. So join us there if you so choose. There's a chat room on the YouTube page too. We'll try and keep an eye on it if at all possible. So lots of ways to stay in touch with us. We hope you'll take advantage of them as best you can. Lots to talk about and not talk about so far on the season, as unfortunately that's just the way it is, as it were. We are dealing with a lot of delays and cancellations as we continue throughout the season because of COVID and the Omicron virus. It is what it is, sadly. We will continue to push through that for the rest of the month. I just realized I didn't print up my results from the top 25, but we'll keep an eye on that. I'll get to it another way. But really, I mean, the challenge for a lot of teams is something that's out of their control, for lack of a better description. And I don't mean just the virus, but the reactions to it. I've seen a number of situations where teams have wanted to play games and administrations or medical staffs or whomever, maybe local officials for all I know, has said, no, you will not be playing. So it is what it is, and everyone's adjusting. Everyone's trying to adjust and trying to figure out how to make things better. We'll keep an eye on how it all plays out, certainly. But to say it's challenging is an understatement, to be blunt. We'll talk more about that throughout the show. We'll also talk about it in our top 25 segment coming up. Let's give you an idea of guests tonight. Coming up, we'll be talking in women's basketball to Wisconsin Lutheran's Klay Knueppel, head coach of the women's program, who ranked top 25 in the latest top 25 poll. We have not seen the latest women's poll. It's dragging its heels just a little bit like it did last week. Not a big deal, but we'll get to it. And we'll see if they've moved up, by the way. But they were 25th in last week's poll. We'll also talk to men's basketball coach Trevor Lydic at Barry. They are not ranked, but receiving votes in the top 25. The latest poll did come out today on the men's side. And Barry, now they're getting a few votes. And then Clark men's basketball coach, interim coach, Barry's coach was interim, Trevor Lydic's the interim. Clark's head coach, Tyler Sims, is not the interim. He's the head coach at Clark. His team was not getting top 25 votes until today. They've got 2, which means either one voter put him 24th or 2 voters put him 25th. And then Ryan Scott will join us for the top 25, maybe one other. We don't have Bob tonight, unfortunately. But we'll at least get Ryan Scott on here to do our dubious, deep dive, and debatable teams in the top 25. And then when the women's poll updates, we will certainly bring you that as quickly as we possibly can. Also keep track of scores that are going on around Division III men's and women's basketball. There are teams that are playing tonight. Nobody who is ranked in the men's side, and nobody on the women's side who is ranked, though teams who have been ranked. We'll keep an eye on those. Games that are being made up. For example, Carnegie Mellon is playing La Roche today. That's a makeup game if memory serves. There's a lot of cancellations and postponements as well. There's also a handful of forfeit games as well. So we'll keep an eye on it all and try and keep you up to date. If you listen to the podcast, obviously those updates don't help you much, but we hope you'll enjoy it nonetheless. So really, when it comes to this virus, some of the things I've been picking up on in the last few days and few weeks is just how much people are kind of trying to figure things out. Omicron is clearly a virus that is easier passed on. It is allowing those who are vaccinated to show symptoms when they don't always show symptoms in other variations, at least from what it seems. I'm certainly no expert on this. As a result, first off, as we talked to Jason Fine last week about from the athletics director at Bates, administrations are scrambling a little bit after thinking they kind of had things a little bit well in hand. And that's not a knock on them. It's just that they thought they had good plans in place, and Omicron has changed all of that. It's just, I don't know where the solutions are or the remedies. The easiest thing I can tell you is there are a number of teams who seem to be popping a number of positive tests right before they're to travel or the day they're at games or even hosting. Shouldn't just say it's travel, it's hosting too. And games are being postponed and canceled at the last minute. I showed up at McDaniel for what was scheduled to be a 2 o'clock game, got pushed to 2:30 due to transportation issues. There's a whole joke between Muhlenberg and McDaniel with that. Only to arrive to be told initially, well, first off, that the game was being pushed to 2:45 if they were to play, but also that all of a sudden Muhlenberg men's basketball team had a number of symptomatic and positive cases. In the meantime, the McDaniel at Muhlenberg women's game had gotten called off with McDaniel's women's team 10 minutes from campus, from Muhlenberg. For some reason, they weren't playing a traditional doubleheader at the same campus. They were doing the landmark style where you split. Not really understanding the early centennial schedule, but that's a whole different topic for a whole different time. Anyway, my point being, there are administrations and medical staffs and others who are seeing a couple of cases, 3, 4, maybe 5 positives in one testing, and are immediately pulling the brakes on games. Even though a team may have enough to play, they may have enough coaches, they may have enough players, etc. Some conferences are mandating a minimum of 7, some are mandating a minimum of 8 players and at least 1 coach. But these administrations or medical staffs or whomever are saying, yes, we realize you have enough, but we just tested your whole team and 4 of them have tested positive, let's say, or 5 of them have tested positive. And while you've got 12 to play or 12 available, we're pulling the brakes on all of this because we're just not sure if there are other positives in this group that just aren't popping on the tests. And I got told by others that there's a concern of having this spread. You know, God forbid one team have it, play another, even though they have negative results. And it's just because the test didn't reveal that there was COVID there. And now those 2 teams go and travel a few days later to play, or just not travel. I keep doing travel. I don't mean that. But a few days later, play another team, especially within the conference. Now you've got 4 teams that have been impacted. And if positive cases start popping out of all of them, that 4 could become 8, etc. And now the whole conference has got an issue. You also have situations where some situations where a men's team is playing and a women's team is not, or vice versa. But there are other occasions where both aren't playing because the medical staff or the administration or whomever is saying that both teams are close contact. And as a result of that, they're shutting both teams down for fear. Or at least in Muhlenberg's case, it apparently led to testing. To see, because of fears of close contact, if others have it. And listen, I also think, and I'm not faulting student athletes necessarily, in this case, but there are student athletes who are probably not telling their coaches and medical staff and whatever if they have some small symptoms like a tickle in the back of their throat or a slight fever or a cough or some sneezing. Because heck, and I don't mean to make light of this, I'm just using it as an example. I didn't tell my athletic trainers and my coaching staff every time I had a rolled ankle when I played sports. A lot of times I knew that if I told them that, it would shut things down and that I wouldn't be playing anymore for an undetermined amount of time. Well, in this case, you certainly, and I can understand this, you don't want to be the reason that your team is not playing. Right or wrong. I'm certainly not good enough to figure out if that's a right decision or a wrong decision. I'm sure it's happening. And then positive cases are coming in. And then the other fact here is schools are deciding to test student athletes even if they're vaccinated and boosted. Remember, NCAA changed the medical guidelines, and that's from the medical group, to say that fully vaccinated are anybody who's had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine or booster in no more than 2 months ago. So if you got the booster for J&J and it was 3 months ago, you're no longer considered fully vaccinated. But if you got it a month ago, you're considered fully vaccinated. Whatever the latest shot you needed to have. If it's Pfizer, it's 5 months. If it's Moderna, it's 6 months. I think I have that right. I could have Moderna and Pfizer backwards, but I'm pretty sure it's Pfizer 5 months, Moderna 6 months. Or if you've had COVID and you've been positive, then it's 90 days. And remember, there was a conversation last year between 90 days and 120 days. It's 90 days. And in those cases, you're considered fully vaxxed. You don't have to test. Now, a school, and by the way, if you're not meeting those fully vaccinated guidelines, then you have to test 3 times a week. A school, a local government, even a conference, I haven't heard any conferences, but it's possible, could mandate more strictly. And schools, I have been told, have been testing student athletes when they've come back from the break. They have been testing student athletes at least once a week. I've even heard twice a week. I don't remember where, but I did hear it. Don't quote me that it's definite, but the once a week is very popular. And usually ahead of a game. And who knows if that's increased in some places or not. So you now have a situation where even the vaccinated are being tested, even if they don't seem to be showing signs of symptoms or they're just not admitting those symptoms. And those are turning into positive cases. That's turning into games canceled and postponed. And there's other situations like Brandeis, who has shut down everything. They're not practicing right now at Brandeis, at least on the men's basketball side, from what I've been told. And they've already shut down, 2 weekends of UAA play. They didn't play NYU this weekend. They will not play Carnegie Mellon or Case Western next weekend, or this coming weekend, we should say. So administrations are also responding differently. I think some administrations are catching some by surprise because they've stepped up and become more aggressive than they had been in the past. And there's some others who are still going at it as a status quo. And every institution has a different risk assessment, motivation, understanding of their campus, of their world, of their future. Some campuses are not going to take the risk of an outbreak that could cause problems on the campus because that could cause financial problems and their future is 50-50, let's just say. I'm just using that as an example. There are others who feel that if they did that, their school would be lost forever. They'd eventually, the domino effect would have them close anytime now. And so they're willing to take the risk to keep things moving in the right direction. And then there's others who are not willing to take the risk because they don't need to take the risk. They are financially stable for the foreseeable future. So they don't feel that they need to make any moves whatsoever to push things. And you're seeing a mix of that and every other variation I can't think of right now. And that's resulting in all these cancellations and postponements. It's not ideal. We would love to be playing basketball. We would love to see a full slate. At least we're seeing games. A year ago, we barely were seeing games. We were marching ourselves steadily towards the inevitable, and that was no basketball at all for the season. And we weren't, or I should say for the championships. We weren't going to have a postseason. We had, at this point a year ago, I was on nonstop phone calls and emails and text messages with administrators and coaches determining of the 450 schools, and I'm estimating, and of those, all those men's and women's basketball programs, obviously multiply out by 2 for the most part, how many of them were going to be playing. And at this point, I already knew that the season wasn't going to happen at this point a year ago, or the postseason wasn't going to happen. Teams were going to play. They're going to try and play at different times, and there was all kinds of other ideas out there, and there were unknowns too. But at least we have games that are playing this year. It's not easy. It's not fun, but we're getting there. And so I'm not trying to make light of it, but at least we have something, and at least games have been played. It's unfortunately not the fall. The fall was great. It wasn't perfect. We still had some issues in the fall. Women's soccer, Loris women's soccer team made the semifinals and had 3 of their starters not play due to close contact. I was told that they likely were going to test negative, or they probably were going to test negative. I never followed up on it. Played a great semifinal into overtime and didn't get to the championship game, and maybe those 3 starters would have made a difference. But we also weren't losing huge chunks of games in the fall, and that's where it's different. And it's also an indoor sport, and that makes it different. I am not aware, because I'm not paying attention, if ice hockey is having as big a problem, but I know games are being postponed and canceled in ice hockey and indoor track, and we have indoor volleyball starting on the men's side here shortly. So you have a lot of what ifs and risk assessment and decisions being made not by teams, not by coaches, And I get there's frustration out there. And I understand that, man, I wish we could play. We've got 10 able bodies. Those guys, yes, they tested positive, but we were testing everybody, even if they were vaccinated without symptoms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I get all of that. But the reality is these administrations, well above these teams, and above athletic directors even, have chosen to make these decisions, and that's where we sit. So just understand that it's not ideal for anybody, but at least we're playing some games, and some of these games will be made up, and we will make adjustments. And when we're making selections and trying to mock out who's going to be in the NCAA tournament, it's going to be different. It's going to be strange. It's going to be a little convoluted, but we'll make those decisions and figure it out, and we'll have a season, and we'll hopefully have that postseason, and we'll have fun moving forward. That's the best I can tell you. I know a lot of people get frustrated with all this. I walked away from Twitter on Saturday because I shouldn't have engaged in the first place because I knew it wasn't going to get anywhere. But secondly, no one was willing to listen to just the general thoughts on things because they were frustrated their teams weren't playing. And I get it. I'm sorry for all of you who don't like what I may tweet or say. I spend way too much time talking to individuals to come at something with an uninformed or educated perspective. And I still am learning. I'm still could be dead wrong. But too many times we're dealing with people who, or not people, I shouldn't say that. We're dealing with decisions that are being made by others that are not fully explained because they're not going to be. And we think we can solve it in social media, and we can't. Is X school within its bounds to do what it wants? Yes. Is my alma mater within its bounds to get rid of spectators until further notice? Absolutely. It's their campus. And if it means that I can't work, remains to be determined, or if it means fans can't be at games and we watch them online, or if it means games can't be played. Based on those campuses and those administrations, those are their decisions. It sucks. I get it. But please compare it to a year ago and realize that we're in a far better place. It sucks that winter sports are taking a hit the second time, and I'm using that term real loosely, hit, because in the grand scheme of things, there were a lot of schools that weren't playing last year and a lot of schools that never were going to see the court, even for practice last year. A lot of schools, more than 50% of the division. We are in a better place, even if it still sucks. So I hope everyone can keep that perspective. We'll do our best to keep reporting what we know. We'll keep our scoreboards updated. We'll keep everything informed as we move forward. That went a little longer than I anticipated, but it is what it is. I hope you're enjoying the show. Let us know if you are. Again, you can tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can join us on our Facebook or live stream chats. If you feel like it, feel free to chat in there. I know a lot of you are watching, and we really do appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you might even be watching on the big screen, maybe. And if you're listening to the show on a podcast, or you're listening to a show or watching the show on demand, thank you for doing so as well. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get going into our guests, and we'll head up to Wisconsin, talk to Wisconsin Lutheran women's basketball coach Klay Knueppel about his squad and what they are doing so well. Ranked top 25. They were number 25 in the latest top 25 poll. Last week's. The women's is just out. They are up to 23. So we'll talk about the 9-0 squad when we come back. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the NABC studios. Thanks to our partners at the WBCA, Blue Frame Technology, and all you out there who have been so friendly and kind to us. Back with more after this.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
That's why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com. We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national...
Tried to start the show there. Apparently we didn't click our mic. Now we're good. Technology. Still trying to get my son involved in the show. Still trying to make our commercial breaks a little bit longer. We just haven't figured out how to make this program that we use work with the other program that we need to use. If you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. It's all scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. Time to talk about these teams out there who are playing basketball and trying to keep playing basketball. New women's top 25 is out, and the team that we had number 25 is now up to number 23 in the latest top 25 poll. It is the Warriors of Wisconsin Lutheran. They are 9-0 on the season, and they certainly aren't ones who have missed out or have avoided the problems. They lost 3 games so far, 2 of them out in California to the coronavirus testing and all of that stuff. But they've also been playing pretty well. What we didn't mention in the first block, and we'll mention at the end of this block, was we figured out how to get our segments in like we normally do, split up at this time of the season. And so representing Region 9, because we don't have a sexy name for it, Klay Knueppel joins us here on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Head coach of the women's Wisconsin Lutheran team. Sir, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time. Good to see you. Yeah,
thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Great to be here.
I really appreciate you taking the time and the effort. I'm curious, first and foremost, you're 9-0. Let's just start with that side of things. 9-0, having a great season. Wins over WashU included at 69-66, a win over Millikan and Chicago. You're playing well. You're off to a 5-0 start in conference. You got to be thrilled with at least how things have started for you all.
Yeah, it's been great. I told the team early in the year we were going to be challenged. I was thinking going into the beginning of the year, I didn't know exactly how things were going to work out. From last year, COVID year, pretty much all year, and we hadn't really played really any tough games for a while. And then being able to play against WashU and then doing a road trip down to Chicago and playing Chicago and Millikan, who were in the top 25 preseason. Millikan's got some great players, so does Chicago, and WashU the same. And it just, I told our team after those 3 straight wins, just great for our conference, also great for our team and our program, obviously. But to beat those 3 programs in a row and then going on the road to Chicago was just an awesome trip for us. And coming back with 2 wins there, and then also coming back and playing in our conference. We basically went against 2 of the top 3 teams in our league, or 4 teams in our league at this point, and had to play them right away. And being successful right away in those games was huge for us. It was awesome. It was great, and a great start for our program. Our kids buy in. It's been fun.
By the way, I said Region 9. I meant Region 8. Don't worry, people. We're all still learning all of this. It's basically the old Central region. Yeah, and that was the other thing that jumped out at me is not only are you 5-0 in conference, but it's Concordia, Edgewood, Benedictine, Dominican in those wins. And it says 5-0. I don't see my fifth, but there it is. Rockford.
Yeah, we just played Rockford.
We just played Rockford, right?
Yeah.
But obviously Benedictine and Edgewood, and some of these teams, as you mentioned, have been the top of the conference, battling with you guys to win the conference year in and year out. This is who you've had to face. So you've gotten them out of your way already. Granted, you'll play them a second time, but that's the thing is you don't have to still play them twice.
Yes, you are correct.
That's a big difference.
It was a huge difference in our league. We kind of dropped a couple games. We went down to 18 games in our league this year. Just trying to pick up more non-conference games, some better non-conference games, some regional opponents where it would be a little bit where we could, again, it just gives us better competition to a certain extent than playing some of the teams in our league. Not that all leagues don't have their challenges with teams that are at the bottom, but again, with so many teams in our league, it just helped us get some games where we could play some non-conference. And that was kind of California too, going to Chapman and playing Whittier and Chapman. That was my goal, was to go play some guys that, are in NCAA tournaments, have played in NCAA tournaments. Whenever we travel or do something, I want to play top 25 teams, teams that have been in the top 25. We've been to the tournament so often that we feel that helps our players develop, get better. It kind of was a bummer that we lost the 2 games in California, but I'm trying to pick up, depending on how the COVID situation goes, we have some really good opponents in region with the UW schools in our region, trying to go play, Whitewater, or go and trying to play, just trying to play somebody else that's in our, or even if not, just playing somebody that is in the top 25, that we can get some good competition if we lose some more games. So we're trying to do that. But and especially ones that you think are going to be regionally ranked, because that's going to be really helpful for you guys. Because let's be honest, NACC isn't guaranteed at large bids all the time. It happens, but you're not guaranteed them. You might as well better position yourself on the off chance you might need to make that argument. Yeah. I mean, that happened 2 years ago. I mean, we're 2 years out because last year the NCAA didn't happen, but in our league, we beat DePauw at the beginning of the year a couple of years ago, and 2 of our teams got in the conference or in the NCAA tournament. And I feel we beat DePauw. They didn't lose to anybody till they got to the Final Four, whatever it was. They or Sweet 16 or whatever it was. They hadn't lost a game except to us, and that helped our league. And we really try to do that. Like next year, our opening tournament, we run an opening tournament. We'll have DePauw, Calvin, and then Bethany will win their league, and probably this year, and they're in our tournament next year. It's just a great opening weekend for us. And again, that was this year too. We just really try to get the best teams and, top 25 teams in our, into our tournament at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, certainly noticeable and makes a difference. And that's also why top 25 voters respond, maybe a little slower than maybe a 9-0 team in the past would have gotten. But again, it's also because we have question marks. I mean, it's complicated for everybody. We also, who are you playing? There's changes. Chicago has a new coach, and yes, there's some changes. And WashU seems to still be trying to find themselves. I'm not even a women's voter, and I know what they're probably challenged with. But from your perspective, you're clearly making that goal of we're going out there, we're challenging ourselves against good teams, win or lose. We're going to better our resume, better our conference as well. And it seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like some of the conference mates are also taking the same approach now.
Yes, for sure. It's great. We just have to start, winning some of those games. We're very competitive in a lot of those games. We just got to start climbing that little hump and get over it. And, it's great for our league. Finally, our top teams are going against better competition in their non-conference. And we have to do that to develop our conference and make our conference stronger. It's great that our coaches are doing that in our league and starting to play tougher teams.
You talked about the trip to California for Whittier and Chapman. And of course, we were at the D3Hoops.com Classic in Vegas after that. And Whittier, unfortunately, the women's team couldn't make it. We lost all of our women's teams from that event. And just a reminder for anybody who's just tuned in, we had 19 scheduled on men and women, and we ended up with 9. We took our hits too. Not that I'm complaining. Not doing 7 games in one day isn't the worst thing in the world. But back to your loss, you lose those 2 games, and you hinted at it a little bit with your answer a moment ago. Are you trying to make up those games in some capacity? Try and find some non-conference games that you can play?
Yeah, I think, well, listening to you before, the challenge is going to be administration, medical. It's going to be that challenge because as we move farther in, we lost a game last week in conference.
Yep.
Those are more important. It's our conference opponent. We're not going to cancel those to get non-conference games. So right now, that's probably it's probably the biggest challenge is we can only play 3 games in a week. Our conference says they don't want us, and medical want us to not play 4 games in a week. So as we move forward, we already lost 1 conference game. I got to find spot for that. And I don't want to start scheduling. I got to work with non-conference opponents. Hey, we might get canceled if I have to reschedule more non-conference games. And with the testing going on now, with the way they changed the policy in the NCAA for vaccinated, getting the booster, that's changed the guys that are testing more. It's just kind of changed what we're doing. And we have more people testing every week. So again, we're going to try to reschedule as much as we can. I'm going to try to get the non-conference games if I can. I want to do it for our players. I mean, I just feel bad for the kids, and it's been one of the hardest things for our young people that are playing in the sport. Trying to talk to them when they test positive, it's been probably one of the most difficult things to do for me as a coach, because we love our players, and they're young women and they want to be successful. They feel like they're failing to a certain extent, their team. So yes, I want to reschedule games. I want to get those games. I'd want to play if I was younger. So I'm trying to get them I'll try to get them the games.
I don't want to put you on the spot necessarily. I don't know Wisconsin Lutheran's situation in terms of what the college expects of its students. Certainly don't want to dive into those minutia, but I am curious. Yes, the NCAA kind of made adjustments to what fully vaccinated mean. Has the university made adjustments that you're also having? I should say college also making adjustments to that. On top of that, has it become a moving bar, as it were, for an administrative point of view as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely is. It's been tough the last 5 days here. It's been really kind of tough. I mean, again, our administration has been great. They're awesome at WLC. They've been very good with, following the NCAA guidelines. We follow the guidelines. And now, the problem that we had is getting our trip canceled to California. We had a bunch of guys that tested positive. The vaccinated guys, we were as an administration, unless you had symptoms, we weren't testing our vaccinated guys because they were fully vaccinated. The NCAA said you didn't have to test those guys. So we were on we probably had some guys that were positive over break. We had about a 3-week layoff here from the last time we played. I would have probably had those guys test, see if they had it over break. It was probably a mistake on my part by not having them test. Because the guys have 90 days if they tested positive. And with that little break in there, I'm sure I would have had a couple guys that now they're going to have to test. We're really concerned. We tested today. We're concerned tomorrow our results come back before we play. And I got some guys on my team that are, again, if they were positive over break, the chances that they might pop is it could happen. We have 2 out right now that are top 6 players. It's going to affect me. We play Norbert's tomorrow, and they haven't lost in our league. We're missing one of our best rebounders and players, and one of our best shooters, and that affects us. We're still, again, trying to move forward. I don't want to make excuses. We tell our players we're not going to make excuses, but sure. In the end, it's tough. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Our plan is to go. Our administration will say, hey, we're going to play and we want to play. So we keep pushing for that.
Well, and in my effort to transition a little bit to talk about the team, you have a large team. You've played 21 at least. Granted, about 5-6 of those have played just one game. You've got a huge roster. Obviously, a little bit of a layover maybe from the COVID year last year. But it sounds like even if you have all those numbers available, you get too many positives, your administration is shutting you down. And so it might be nice to have that huge roster, but you're not necessarily able to play.
It could be possible. I mean, I think the California trip was different.
Sure.
And, you know, I think going to California, that was just a tough call for them. I think if we have, you know, 2 or 3 that test positive overall, like I said, our administration, they're trying to follow,
right.
You know, follow what we're supposed to do, but they also know how important it is for our players to play games and the other guys to play games. And, so they're going to do their best. You know, they've done great for us and are not going over the top, I want to say, with our players and with what we're doing. Our return to play policies are great. Our medical staff is awesome, trying to get guys back if they've had COVID issues. So our administration is going to try to get us to play. And, you know, I don't know what'll happen tomorrow. I can tell you that, Dave.
Right,
I really, you know, I mean,
none of us do. None of us do. Tell me.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, it's a case by case. You know,
right.
I don't know. You know, it's very interesting to try to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm maybe naive, but I'm hoping by the end of January that we're finally kind of on the other side of this hump and moving in a better spot. But I don't know.
Yes, you and me both.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me a little bit about this squad, because you have Jenna Mace leading the way as a senior, 14 points a game. Shooting 41% from the floor, pulling down about 4 rebounds, 2 assists a game, a steal a game. You also have a sophomore in Sam Leiseman, Caitlin Shadowski, a sophomore, 9.2 points a game. Sam was 10.4 points a game. You don't have a ton of overall heavy scorers, but you've got a lot of players who score. Allie Go, a senior at 6 points a game as well. You also have a sophomore, Nicole. Is it Youngblood?
Youngblood, yep.
Youngblood.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Young
Very
blood.
cool.
Yeah.
A center at 4.5. You seem to have a lot of different options, though obviously it goes through Mace primarily. Tell me a little bit about her and then the rest of the squad.
Well, Sam's probably not playing, but that's one of our main. I mean, she's a huge rebounder and player. She's not playing tomorrow, but because of COVID stuff, she has no symptoms, but it's just been what it is.
I know what you mean.
She's been totally fine. She's been working out the last few days all by herself. You know, it's just one of those things. But anyway, I mean, our scoring, it's and then that's going to be kind of the thing. I don't know if we'll have the player of the year in our league when we don't really care about that. Jenna should be. I mean, she is a phenomenal player and just a really good player that we've had for the last 4 years. I would love to have her back for a 5th, since she could have the 5th year. But she can score. Shadowski scores. Sam scores for us. And again, if you look back at our games, one of those guys has stepped up in each and every game and played and gotten victories for us. You know, you play the WashU game. I don't know who led in scoring, but one of them probably was around, 18 to 20. And then you go to the Milliken game and Caitlin Shadowski has 20 and then Jenna has 10, or, those guys switch. Sam will have a big game and that's kind of nice for us. I mean, we can run our offense, but it doesn't mean that I got to run it through. I mean, we run it through those 3 guys pretty much. But then we have some really good shooters. I mean, you talked about Allie. She can shoot the ball really well. And we got some freshmen that came in that can shoot it a little bit. And then our post players, they just buy in. Our post players buy into what we're doing. Abby Vavra, she's a senior. Last night or on Saturday, she had 3 charges in the game for our center. 3 charges. We took 6 charges in the game on Saturday.
Impressive.
Yeah, we take pride in that. It's all, yeah, but she plays. She's not a big scorer, but defensively, she takes charges. She's in the right spot. She does what we ask. But again, it's a team effort, as you know. But Jenna Mace is a really good player, is tough to guard, and is really fast. She hasn't shot the ball from 3 particularly well for us this year.
Yeah, I noticed struggling a little. Yeah,
I think that overall in the game for D3, it's been a struggle for a lot of women. Especially coming out of high school, the line going out a little bit farther this year has changed a lot of the thought process, I think, especially on our team. We're getting better. We work on it every day, and we just get in games and we haven't been able to hit the 3 like we thought we were gonna. But again, we'll make adjustments. They can score and they can hit the 3. Hopefully, as we go into the season here and get toward the end, it'll start coming around for a little bit. We're getting in the gym every day. So
you're not an overly large team. You don't have anybody listed at 6 foot. You have a handful of 5'10" and 5'11", And so you say post play, but you've had to go up against some teams I know have got some size inside in terms of height. Do you have to adjust your game, or is your game already adjusted?
I don't want to give away what we do.
Oh, certainly. No, I'm not looking for that necessarily.
We really teach. We'll double the ball sometimes, but the way we teach it and how we do it is very effective for our players. Now we'll see how we do tomorrow. Norbert's has some good size. We like to double, but we have certain philosophies with that. Our posts, we talk to our posts, hopefully a lot of referees aren't listening, but we talked to our posts about, meeting the other post at the 50-yard line. Like you'd be in a football, at the free throw line, you meet them at the 50 and they aren't going to go where they want to go. And they got to keep them off their spot. We don't have a lot of size. So that is that's been a challenge. We look at our games and we have to do certain things. Obviously we're trying to recruit some size. We'd love to have size. I think everybody would.
Sure.
That's a huge challenge in D3 basketball, I think, right now. But we do like the 5'10", 5'11" players that are athletic. Shadowski is one of those. Sam Weissman, they're athletic. They're hard to defend. And then they're also physical. They are strong. We change what we do against teams. We have my assistant coaches are great. Julie Lang Bartels is one of my assistant coaches who, if her father he's a Hall of Fame coach in Wisconsin, Christensen. So her dad, Hall of Fame coach. She's a great coach that helps me, does a great job on scouting. So we have really good game plans when we go into games.
I'm curious to switch gears a little bit. You talk about a little bit about the recruiting side. I don't know if we've actually dove into it, but give me a sense of Wisconsin Lutheran as an institution. I mean, I feel, and correct me, I feel like it's like a Hope or a Calvin in the terms, or even a Yeshiva, to be fair, in the terms that it's got a religious component to it that is going to attract a particular student. That said, I realize you sometimes probably have to look a little outside of that envelope or that target window to find student athletes to be on the team. So do you have to go further away from, or not away, but further outside that avenue and attract and convince a student to come to the campus despite it maybe not being what they're looking for? And that's not the right way of saying it, but I think you understand where I'm getting. I'm kind of curious how you recruit to WLC when what I believe is a component there that certainly is a pro and a con.
Yes, you're right. I mean, it is, but in the end, it isn't. I look at it as I'm probably the toughest challenge is we haven't been around for very long. That's probably the biggest challenge in my recruiting of, basically alumni Christian young women. I'm not where Calvin and Hope are, where I could probably
generations.
I'm hoping. Yeah, I don't know if I'll coach that long.
I hear that.
If I'm 70 and I'm coaching my granddaughter, she's going to be a tough-nosed player. But I think that's like my assistant. That's where I would say that we'll probably in the next 5 years to 10 years. I think comparing us to that type of recruiting where I can get some alumni kids that they're coming out of high school. I think that's going to change for us. But I will say for us recruiting and going and recruiting kids, our biggest thing is we recruit family. I'll recruit parents and players. And to us, we do after game meals after every single home game with parents and players and everybody. And that's been a huge thing for our program, made our program very successful. And then the Christian part of the school, I do not back down from that at all. It is Wisconsin Lutheran College. I love this place. That's probably why I've been here as the head coach for 18 years and a volunteer.
We weren't counting.
For 12 years. I've been here for a long time. But probably the biggest reason I do it, I think it's the Christian part of the school. The atmosphere is great for young women. And we really, whether it's public school, private school, I mean, we're out. I have a contingent. My family, my brothers, and my dad, They're out helping recruit kids. We're out watching at public school. Probably does not matter where they are. The biggest thing is it's got to be a great fit for them, and the Christian part of it is a big part. And I won't shy away from that. I think, in the end, the kids that come here, our locker rooms have been great. The way we approach stuff, even with the COVID stuff, coming from that Christian atmosphere and perspective with our kids, they accept it and they love that part of it. And that's been a great part in our recruiting. My dad will say that I always recruit kids that are kind of quiet kids and really nice young women. And that's what I have on my team now. They listen, they work hard. Our biggest thing is you come here, you work hard on the academics, you work hard in the gym. And those are my only two things I ask of them. Yeah. And when they come, that's what they're doing. And we've been successful the last, for however long I've been here. It's been a great ride with the kids that we have in here, and they buy into our system. And again, the Christian part of the school is the reason I'm here and the biggest part of our program.
Sure. So. Yeah, no, just curiosity. Every school's got its own unique hook or unique plus, and it can be a negative. Not everybody's attracted to whatever that is at every institution. So I was kind of curious about it.
Yep, and we don't. And again, if somebody doesn't come because that's fine. I don't judge anybody.
No, of course not.
It's great. So it's
whatever fits. Yeah.
Yep. It's the best fit for their daughters, and that's what we're looking for. So.
Got to let you go. Unfortunately, I'd love to chat with you more, but I am just curious. How do you see this? How do you see yourselves in the NACC as it goes on, assuming with no interruptions? You get to play out from this point on.
We won 9 out of 11 years, so 10 out of 12 right now. I mean, we would love it. We take every game one at a time. And
sure.
Again, I think in our league, no matter how good or bad the teams are, some of the teams aren't as good. They give us their best shot every time. They throw stuff at us because they want to beat us. We've led our league. I'm hoping we don't miss games. Our conference is really trying to make it where we're still going to have a conference champion, depending on how many games you lose, still have a conference champion, still have our tournament. Maybe we'll add some more teams in at the end of the year if this thing kind of goes away. But again, we look at one game at a time. We feel like we can win our league. Obviously, we've played 3 out of the top 4 teams in our league already. Norbert's tomorrow will be a challenge just because we're missing some guys, but we'll get a shot at them later too. So tomorrow, hopefully, we'll come out as a team. But I think we'll be really successful. Our goal isn't just to win our league. I'll say that we have a lot more goals to go for, and we're trying to push for that. So we'll get better every single day.
Certainly can appreciate that. Well, I appreciate the time as well. Thanks for being so, upfront with us. Not upfront, it's a horrible way of saying it, but, kind of give us an insight of what you're dealing with. It's fascinating, at least from my perspective, and I hope from the viewer's perspective as well. As always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those maybe tuned in?
I just want to thank you, Dave, and appreciate everything you do for D3 Hoops. And hey, I'm throwing this out to you. I'm inviting you to our opening tournament next year. We're going to have Calvin in it. We'll have DePaul in it.
That's Bethany, a pretty good mix.
And us. I got to get you guys to come to one of our Paul F. Knueppel Classics at the beginning of the year.
All right.
We feed the guys. We'll feed you guys good after every single game. We have home cooked meals for the team. So come on over.
I appreciate the invite. Trust me, if I can start making that happen, I may have to be somewhere else, and that's a good thing for me career-wise. But if not, I will put it on the calendar.
All right. Thanks again for all you do. Appreciate it, Dave.
Well, thank you, Coach. Take care of yourself. Stay safe, and we'll look forward to talking to you down the road.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Coach Klay joining us from Wisconsin Lutheran. Again, they got St. Norbert coming up on tomorrow, the 11th, and then Dominican coming up on Saturday. Going to take a break, running a little bit behind? Of course we are. We'll switch gears, talk Barry men's basketball. They've got an interim head coach getting top 25 love. Should we be giving them a little bit more attention as they lead the SAA conference? Granted, just one game, but a few games, but still. Should we? We'll talk to them coming up. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA NABC studios. More after this.
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all. It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault. Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge imprint on who I am as a person. Competing at a Division III level created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein.
There are over 480,000 college athletes. Only 2% would go pro. That means over 470,000 will not get a shoe contract. No autographs, no private jets, no fan clubs, no Hall of Fame inductions. Instead, they will walk away with something much more valuable.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor's Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight.
Hi! Apparently I can't click off of the commercial and get my microphone to work. You are listening to Hoopsville. We are on the air, and despite what looked like a really weird lip sync, I'm here. What I was trying to say is we're switching gears, talking men's basketball now. If you want to have questions for our guests, or even to ask questions of us for later in the show, whatever, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com, or join us on Facebook where we're simulcasting the show at facebook.com/Hoopsville or youtube.com/Hoopsville. Got it out of the way. What I was trying to say that I was talking about so enthusiastically that you could not hear is that this next team I believe I've been voting for every single week of the top 25 poll. Now, I may have just botched it. I may have just given you all another Hoopsville jinx. And many of you create Hoopsville jinxes in the 19 years we've been on the air. I welcome it. It means you're listening. But I realize I may have just jinxed it for Barry. Barry men's basketball is pretty darn good. In the SAA, right now leading the conference-ish. But they're with an interim coach. Did you know they lost their head coach in August? He went and took the Samford coaching gig, the associate gig, and that's SAMFORD, not the Stanford job or the Sanford job. It's the Samford job. Well, that just gives us a chance to talk to who is now the head coach, and it's Trevor Lydic. joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Coach, thanks for bearing with us as we worked our way through that tech glitch. 11-2 overall, not shabby. I know you had a tremendous COVID year on top of that when you were assistant associate head coach. 2-1 in the SAA. We'll dive into what those numbers really mean in a minute. But first and foremost, I want to start with the fact that you officially took this program over in August. I'm curious, how much warning did you get?
Not much. It was a whirlwind of about 2.5 weeks. They had to do something quickly when Coach Cole took the Sanford job, which was awesome, well-deserved. He's from Birmingham. Bucky McMillan played for him at Birmingham Southern. Just a perfect opportunity for Coach to have to go back home and work with Bucky, and obviously they're doing pretty well this year as well. But yeah, it was a whirlwind experience. It was something that I've always wanted to do, be a head coach. This is my 20th year in college basketball, and there's no doubt I felt that I was ready for it, and thankful that Barry administration and our athletic director, Dr. Angel Mason, believed in me as well to give me this chance. So I was fired up, and I think the team was as well.
Well, and again, I don't want to say you're lucky in this scenario, but you certainly have a great opportunity to take over a program that came in with a really good foundation / returning group. Again, 13-1 last year in the COVID year and 11-1 in the SAA. But it's coming off back-to-back 19-win seasons previous to that. I don't remember when exactly you came in the door, so I apologize there. But you, at least for them, it's an easy decision because you're part of that program that got to where you are now. And so it's obviously hand over the keys, no big deal. Obviously, coming in August, too, it's really hard to do a coaching search.
Exactly.
Let's just be honest. Timing worked out perfect. But you had to feel confident knowing all of those things were in play. You had the bedrock, you had the foundation, you had the 2x4s were in place, the roof was on. You guys were ready to go this season, really no matter who was coaching. And I'm not trying to belittle that. I just mean good place.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Coach Cole and I both got here in 2018.
That's right.
We had the chance to build the program. So I've been here from day one. And obviously, like you mentioned, we had 2 years where we won 19, and then we were able to put it together last year and have a decent year during the COVID year. And we did lose some very talented players, but having our point guard come back and our big guy come back, those are the two starters that we got coming back. That always helps. Those are probably two cornerstone pieces for most programs, and both those guys are outstanding players. So yeah, there's no doubt that for a first head coaching job, I'm very blessed to not try to be building a program.
Sure.
But having some pieces there, but we do a lot of the similar things that we've been doing, but we've added some wrinkles too, just so we can have some fresh stuff that we can try out, and things that seem to be going pretty well so far. And luckily we stayed healthy for the most part. Had some few knickknacks and some COVID stuff, but other than that, it's been pretty smooth sailing. But you never know how those things can change real quickly.
The cupboard wasn't bare, as it were. Obviously, it was in good shape. Let's talk about the season a little bit, then we'll dive into the team. 11-2, as we mentioned, 2-1 in conference play. Your two losses are to Oglethorpe back at the beginning of December. They're 8-5, 2-1. Not having the season I think Philip Ponder was expecting, but they're still not. It's not too shabby.
No,
then you went to Nashville, and apparently it was a CCIW Invitational.
Yes,
because you took on both Wheaton and Carthage. Of course, you played Wheaton to a 6-point game, and I think maybe that's being missed. That's a pretty good Wheaton team. Top 5, top 10 program. And Carthage is certainly tough. They're 7-6 on the year, and Jerkovic is a pretty good coach. And that's it. You have just a loss to Carthage, granted, coming on the tail end of that Wheaton game.
Yeah.
That's my perspective on the season. But give me your perspective on the season. We'll talk about the SAA in a moment.
Yeah, no, I'm very pleased with where we're at. And then for us to go and I wanted to get some experience playing against some good top-notch teams, and obviously playing Wheaton and Carthage, that was kind of on the schedule that we had circled. And obviously beating a top 10 team for Barry is huge. I'm not sure that's ever been done since we've been in the D3 era since 2000, I guess at 8 or 10 or something like that. So being able to pull that off, and then we played good enough to win against Carthage, but they were just a little bit better for us. But I kind of expected us to kind of be right around here. year record-wise. We were able to. We do have a lot of young guys that we play that don't have much experience, but to get some good games under our belts and then play some good competition, that's only helped us, so far in the early part of our conference schedule. So, but I'm very pleased with where we're at. I think that we've learned a lot, we've grown a lot, especially on the defensive end. We've really turned the corner on there. So I'm proud of where we're at.
Interesting enough, Mike Schauer, of course, the head coach for Wheaton, Illinois. We're talking, not Massachusetts. That's a good thing. He's the committee chair, so that's not a bad thing. Though unless he's vengeful. No, I don't think that'll happen.
I know Mike a little bit, and I know Mike's a great guy. And as much as he was not happy to take that L that night, I know in spirit he was happy that if he was going to lose to someone, I think he was happy for this kind of situation, or up and coming new coach was able to play well enough to win.
What I find interesting is I thought you'd get a bigger bump. Looking at just today's top 25, we're not going to, we could go into others certainly. You guys are receiving votes, but it's at the total of 8. My top 25, granted, I'm not doing you too many favors. I got you at 22, which is 1, 2, 3. That's 4 of the 8 points.
Right.
So I'm half your points. And I'm not trying to sit here and say that I know for sure that you're a top 25 program, but it feels like with a win over Wheaton at 11-2, with your only loss, your losses are, interesting, but not horrible in this day and age. Do you think you got what? I'm going roundabout here. What are top 25 voters missing, and maybe including myself?
Yeah, well, I think probably what everybody's missing is our schedule at the beginning was probably not what a top 25 team schedule looked like. So I probably think if people look at our schedule, they'll be like, okay, struggled a little bit against some teams that we probably could have played a little bit better against. But, it was early in the season, new coach, they're trying to fill me out as players, things like that. But I think after the Wheaton game where we went toe-to-toe with those guys for a full 40 minutes and we were able to pull that out, I think that can give us some confidence. And we scrimmaged Emory in an exhibition early in the year. We were able to hold our own. They're a great, outstanding program down there as well. So as most coaches probably, I'm not really worried about where we are ranked right now. It'd be nice for our program to get some national recognition, but as long as we just keep, every day we talk about just the next game. That's all we care about. Everything else will take care of itself after the next game.
Sure.
So we're not trying to look too much forward to where we're at. I think we're pretty confident right now with how we're playing. We're improving in a lot of different areas, especially we've kind of got back on track shooting the basketball with several guys. So I think that's just going to make us much more harder to beat. But, on any given night, anywhere, especially in a COVID year right now where, who knows who's going to play from day to day. The next guy's got to be ready. So I'm not disappointed. I'm happy to be receiving votes. I think that's kind of, we were able, probably 4 or 5 years ago, Barry was not even close to receiving votes and things like that. So to be where we are right now, I think that we're in a pretty good position.
Talking to Barry interim head coach Trevor Lydic here on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville hotline. Talk SAA play now. You guys are 2-1 again. One of those losses to Oglethorpe. That was the one game you played on the other side of the break. Then you've got Rhodes and Hendricks this past weekend, both of them on the road. You've got Center and Swanee coming up, and obviously Center is a tough squad. But you also have Birmingham and Southern and Millsaps before you basically take the turn in the conference standings or in the conference race. You're in a 5-way tie. Just for the record, 5-way tie. It's Barry, Hendricks, Center, Oglethorpe, Swanee in alphabetical order. All but Swanee have a winning record right now. How do you see SAA playing out this year?
Well, it's very interesting because there's so many different styles in the SAA.
Yeah.
Millsaps plays a really up and down type game. Swanee's pretty much all the Princeton stuff. Obviously, Greg Mason is a great coach at center. And then Thad over at Hendricks, who I think is a very, very talented team, has probably played probably the toughest schedule in the SAA and outside of non-conference. And I think that they've got the player of the year, in my opinion. It's just you got to come ready to play, just like every league. If you think you're just going to walk in and roll over somebody, you're definitely mistaken. So I think top to bottom, it's pretty close. I'd probably say there's a little bit rebuilding. Swanee didn't play last year, but obviously they were 2 1 in conference. So that, trying to get back on track. So they got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. And, Millsaps and Rhodes, we just played Rhodes, and I think they're very talented as well. They just, we were able to play really extremely well Friday night, and we're able to get them. So yeah, I think that this is going to be a tough conference. I think probably a team with 4 losses probably will win the conference. So the good thing is we got away from, if someone does get COVID, it's not an automatic forfeit now. It's just a no contest. So I think that will kind of even things out, especially with every team making the tournament this year.
Can you make those games up and still count for conference play? I realize this is being said with insane travel.
Yeah.
Or is that just not going to be on the table?
Yeah, I think right now, as far as what I heard from our staff meeting last week, is if you want to play, you can and make it up, but it's not going to count towards your conference record.
Then how are they adjusting the conference postseason?
As far as I know, everybody goes. So it's top.
Right,
top
but
8.
how do you seed it?
So top 4, whoever has the best records will host the first rounds. Then they'll go to the highest remaining seed and things like that. So,
but my concern, and maybe we're getting in the weeds too much, is
that's a good question.
You start losing games,
percentage points and things like that. I know last year that's what we did. We started looking at if you were 6-4, you could pass somebody that was 5-4 or something like, or vice versa, something like that.
So it might just come down to percentage.
Yeah, so that's probably the fairest way to well, it's probably not fair, but that's probably
the only way. Yeah.
For surely there's going to be teams that nobody's going to play the same amount of games. I have a feeling.
Oh, yeah. All right, we'll see. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Your squad's interesting because coming out of a COVID year, I don't know what to make of it. We're getting used to deep rosters. We're getting used to, in some places like the NESCAC, I know they're losing upperclassmen because they just can't stay and go to a school like that, or the UAA. And pay that kind of money. But other institutions, they can afford a 5th or even a 6th year. You only have 3 quote unquote seniors, and one of them is a graduate student.
Yep.
This is, for all intents and purposes, you only have 2 other juniors.
Yep.
And this is where maybe I'm even missing it, because I felt confident about you guys knowing this going in. You're somewhat young.
Oh yeah, we're definitely young. There's no question.
Why am I being too confident voting for your top 25? I'm bluntly asking you that because you have a young team that somehow I figured out early on that I liked. I knew what you had coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what it is about this team that is working so well for such a young group.
Well, I think it's all about confidence. And I think, ever since we were able to regroup from the Oglethorpe loss, which was a really disappointing loss for us, and we really got after it the next week in the film room and on the court, especially defensively. I kind of pride ourselves in the defensive aspect, and we just did not play good defensively in that game. And then finally going down to Florida, we were able to hold teams to in the 40s and 50s. Then we came back, played a tough game against Wheaton. I think they scored 72 points or something like that. And then, Carthage, they were at 60 and we were at 58. And then this past weekend, we were really holding teams down. So I think just our young guys trying to figure out who can play when and who can do what and let them get confidence. But I really feel good that we have a pretty good top 4 or 5 guys, but after that, any guy from 5 to 6 or 6 to 12, 13, I think any of them can step up and give us major points. And that was really shown this past weekend at Hendricks, where we had a guy come off the bench and get 16 points. So it's really just one of those things where I'm blessed to have a lot of young guys that have confidence and are continuing to get confidence. And if I throw them in there, I feel really good about where we're at.
You have 4 guys in double figures, and I think that's where I kind of lean. I see the depth, and even after the 4 guys in double figures, you've got another 4 at 5 points or more a game. Austin Brooks leading the way, 12.5 points a game, 8.5 rebounds a game on top of that. You also have Chase Ellis at 11 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, one of your top assist guys. Owen Honroth at 10.5 points a game, 10 points a game. He's at 9.9, but we round up. Michael Johnson, also big rebounding guys for you. Johnson, of course, your top assist guy on the team. And that doesn't mention the guys like Riley Costas and Blake Campbell and Robbie Rusciano and others. You seem to have depth despite that young group. Now, some would say you have depth because you're playing players because you've got that young group. What say you?
Yeah, no, I want to play a lot of guys. We may not show that we play an up-tempo style by only averaging about 77 points a game, but most of our stuff that we're getting is in transition. I really want to fly it up the floor, shoot threes, and then pound it inside with Austin. And then we got another 6'10" kid who's been a little bit banged up, but he's starting to come on a little bit for us. So, I think the more we keep progressing in practice and the more we keep playing well in games, that's just giving these young guys more confidence. And I think all these guys, if they get a chance, they want the chance. They want to show me that they can do something out there. And so they're just chomping at the bit for me to give them that opportunity to get in there and show what they got. So I love those guys that come in with that kind of confidence instead of kind of going, oh, we got these 4 or 5 guys that are way ahead of me. I'm just going to take a back seat. These guys want to compete against those guys every single day in practice. And then, of course, when we get out on the court for games.
Well, you talk about the 76 points a game that you're scoring may not seem like high, but let's go back to the point that defensively you're only allowing 64 points a game. That's pretty impressive. That's a 12-point plus for you. But more importantly, it's 64 points a game. Shooting percentage, I'm sure you'd love to see better. You're allowing about 40% from the floor and 31% from deep, but it's still the points. So is this team through the defense and get those baskets in transition, or does it need to be a little bit more offensive?
Yeah, I mean, we started out really good offensively. We were averaging over 80, and we were shooting about 50%. So that's kind of tailed down. And I think that's kind of when you start getting into conference play, you're a little bit more well-known with what you're trying to do. You're a little bit better scouted, a little bit more time to prepare and things like that. But one thing we can all, like for me personally, defense, that's just, I can teach you a few things, but it's just a want to. It's a mentality. It's can you be tougher than the other team? And that's what we really preach every single day in practice. It's defense first and then followed up by offense. And then eventually, hopefully, especially the last few games, we've been able to shoot the ball a lot better. So if we can kind of continue that and continue the defense, I think we'll be a tough out.
Got to ask you, you graduated, if I'm not mistaken, if I read everything correctly here, from Asbury. Is that, yep. By the way, that's correct how you say it, right?
Asbury, yep.
Yeah, okay. I didn't want to assume there was more of a S to it or something.
Nope, you got it.
It's in Kentucky. And, it's interesting. Not Division III when you were there.
Nope.
Now Division III.
Yep.
I'm kind of curious. A couple of things. One, is that the right move for your alma mater? And second, have you invited them personally to the SAA?
Well, the first question, yeah, definitely. When I was there, we were NAI, but we didn't have scholarships. So we were technically an NAI team that was a Division III team. So
right.
This is a good move for them. Their women's team actually came down to Barry a couple weeks ago and played us. Will Schaus, who's the head coach there, was there when I was there. So I told him anytime we want to play, we can do it and things like that. So I don't know what league they're trying to get into. I think they're still working that out. USA
I've heard scuttlebutt, but we won't go into it.
Yeah. So, but I know he's a good coach, and they'll be really good once they find a home.
It's interesting that, I think we go through phases in Division III when NAIAs especially, but even others decide that Division III is the right place for them. What is it from your perspective as now being in Division III for a few years? We should point out, this is, I think, your first Division III foray because you were at Valdosta at one point. At some community colleges as a coach as well. I don't think you've been in Division III other than this job. But knowing this job and what you've experienced, at least in the southern part of Division III, what is it about the division that NAIs are now again being attracted to, including your alma mater?
Yeah, no, I just think that it's the whole encompassing atmosphere of Division III. It's not just, all right, we're going to go out there and just be a basketball guy. We're putting academics at the forefront. We're putting the culture at the forefront, and then athletics is kind of that third tier thing. So we want guys that are well-rounded. And I think Asbury kind of fits that mold too. They just don't want guys coming to school to be basketball guys. They want guys coming to school because it's Asbury or Berry College. And I think that's one thing that being at a Division II most of my career, that's a little bit shift right there where we were recruiting just pretty much basketball players from the transfer portal and junior college guys where it's just if you take away basketball, they don't have a life. But here in Division III, they have other interests and they're well-rounded individuals and they're going to be good products in society after they leave here. And they're learning a lot, playing at a pretty high level here too. So.
Great perspective. I appreciate that, especially to hear you talk about the slight differences, and we obviously didn't go into detail of all those different perspectives. So thanks very much for that. I'd love to chat with you more, but we'll let you go. We've let you be on a little later than we told you would be. So I know you got bigger things and bigger fish to fry. I will ask, as I did the last coach before letting you go, the SAA race, how do you see it shaping up, including yourselves? Is this going to be a fight all the way to the end with this 5-way tie maybe is alluding to what we see? Or do you think there's going to be some separation and the cream will rise?
Well, that's so hard to tell, because Hendricks was hit by the COVID bug when we played him the other day. There's other teams struggling. So I think there'll probably be a little bit of separation from a few schools. I think there's probably 3 or 4 schools that can really kind of separate themselves, and then the rest are kind of going to be in the middle of the pack fighting for jockeying for position in the tournament. But I could see a number of teams slipping in there, winning the conference tournament. And hopefully we're still in the mix at the end. I expect us to be there. If we continue to play that we want to be, but I can see that this could be a really competitive season in the SAA.
Well, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much. By the way, if you're looking for competitive games, there's a great event called the D3Hoops.com Classic out in Las Vegas. I'm just saying.
Yes.
I happen to know the event. If you need some help, we can make arrangements.
Yes, we're definitely interested in getting out there and being more national for sure.
By the way, I totally forgot to mention, you also went back-to-back on events. You were in Naples, Florida for 2 games against Marywood and Albright, and then headed out to Nashville for Wheaton Carthage. So you also got the mileage in. Granted, yes, Nashville was a bus drive, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. But with 3 straight weeks on the road for any team is tough. So
exactly.
I'm glad we got some home games this weekend.
Yeah, oh, by the way, Christmas was in the middle. We have a tradition on the show. We always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuned in?
No, I just appreciate you having me and recognizing Berry College as an up-and-coming team, and I appreciate you getting our name out there and for voting for us for top 25 spots. So we appreciate that very much.
Hey, no one says I'm right. I just happen to be doing it.
Well, right now you're right. So,
well, thank you so much, Coach. Really appreciate it. Congratulations on the job. Congratulations on the season so far. Look forward to seeing how the SAA shapes up, and stay safe out there and enjoy the rest of the season.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Trevor Lydic joining us here on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. He is the interim head coach there at I was about to say Asbury. Obviously Barry. It's Barry, folks. And that maybe a little harder that I put my mind to. We'll see how they play out. Again, coming up, Center, who's not having a great season, but they're always tough under Greg Mason and Swanee coming up this weekend. Then Millsaps and Birmingham Southern. Not in that order. It's Birmingham Southern, then Millsaps. Take another break. When we come back, continue our men's basketball game conversation with another team that's flying under the radar. They only got 2 first top 25 votes, and they're undefeated. Clark joins us. They're playing their best basketball since the heyday of the Clark basketball program in the 1980s. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. Back with plenty more Hoopsville ahead.
This is why we love sports. It's in the way they play, free from the pressures and all the money talk. Playing for simply the love of the game, where everyone has a shot at their definition of success on and off the field. This is what we love about sports, and what we can still love about college sports. This is why we love sports.
It's on us. It's on all of us. And it's time to act now.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. and we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. My name is Marcus Walker.
Well, all kinds of tech issues. Started the commercial again there, folks. Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show. You got questions for us? Tweet us at D3Hoopsville and hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville at D3sports.com. Join us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Hoopsville. Or you can join us on YouTube at YouTube.com/Hoopsville. We're live simulcasting the show. I did finally figure out how to see comments on Facebook, which were not appearing in the past. So if you do want to comment there, we'll try and see them. For some reason, through our producer, we can't see comments, and it makes no damn sense to me. Anyway, I did see someone on Twitter jump in. Let's see here. Nope, that was something else. I thought it was about something else, but no, it's not. We'll talk about Bob Quillman not able to join us later tonight, but apparently one person thinks he might be out with the Emory men's basketball team. That's pretty good. All right, so one team that listen, a Twitter person raised the question. I don't remember when. It was a while back. I apologize. But they asked what I think was a legit question. Clark is undefeated. Why aren't they getting any top 25 love? Well, as a top 25 voter, I at least went, well, let's at least look at this. I've heard this line before. Well, they are undefeated. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say they should be in the top 25. I don't know. I didn't vote for them this time. Remember, last guest I did vote for. This guest I'm not. Notice what I'm doing here? I'm hedging my bets. But they are undefeated. Best start since mid-1980s. And, of course, the Clark basketball program was really good in the 80s and 90s. So it's saying something that they're off to their best start. But I'd like to talk about the schedule and who they are as a team to get to better understand them. That's how, as a top 25 voter, I like to vote. Tyler Sims joins us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. He's the head coach of the Clark team, who is 12-0 overall, and a whole huge 1-0 in NUMAC play, because we've really gotten into that. We'll talk a bit more about that, Coach. But thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave. Every win in the NUMAC is tough, so one win is always a good one. But
that's true.
As I mentioned pre-show, appreciate you having me on, and everything that you, Pat Coleman, D3Hoops.com does for D3 student athletes is terrific. So really excited to be on and talk Clark Hoops.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. We'll talk a little bit about your history here in the Division III world, but let's talk about this 12-0 start. I'll be honest. One of the reasons I'm not voting for you guys, and I'm usually pretty honest about these things. I don't look at the schedule and get blown away. And I realize there's limitations and there's challenges, and there was, oh, by the way, COVID, especially last year, that can blow things up. But just quickly go through the 12 games. It's John Jay, Fitchburg, Bates, New England College, York of New York, Anna Maria, Leslie, Framingham State, Connecticut College, Gordon, Wentworth, MIT. Now, granted, went over MIT, pretty solid, especially if you can get Larry anytime you can, especially at their place. That's a good win. Connecticut College, not too shabby either. By the way, if anyone's out there, Tim Sweeney's dying to play some games if you want to schedule him. Tim is all up for some games right now, especially middle of next week or this week. The schedule is what it is, but give me a little bit of insight about A, that schedule, and B, your team and how it's done against it so far.
Yeah. It's funny. I think a lot obviously goes into scheduling, as you know. And I was listening to the podcast earlier last week. last week with Kevin App. And, it's funny. I pretty much agreed with what he said. It's just there's many factors to it. And obviously with COVID last year canceling most every Division III season, there's even less certainty as far as like what you can predict for not only your own team, obviously, but the other, for us, 11 non-conference games that we schedule. So, first and foremost, we try to limit missed class time. So during the week, we want our guys in classes, and that's just, something we believe in as a university and something I personally believe in as a coach. So, that's a factor into it. And then there's many others too. Like, John Jay was coming off a 21 season. Ryan Highland does a great job.
Certainly, yeah.
Great job there. And, I think with the COVID year, then also some own restrictions at his school, they're a little bit down this year, so there's things like that. But obviously New England College, Charlie Mason does a great job there. Guys like Calvin Cheek and others, they're predicted to win their conference. A couple good wins against Bates and Conn, as you mentioned, Wentworth and others. And then we have some traditional city rivals and local rivals that we keep on our schedule, for the relationships and many other factors too. So,
sure.
So yeah, it's kind of how going off of COVID, that's how the schedule broke down. I think our guys, to their credit, have shown up every game, and it's really hard to do when, sometimes you have a letdown or, you don't come ready to play and someone gets you. And it's a real testament to our guys' approach and how hard they've worked where, even if we don't shoot it well, we've really been defending. And that's carried us to some wins where, our shooting percentages are really bad, but we've really defended and that's given us a chance to win. And, and they've competed hard enough, played hard enough to come out on top. So, yeah, again, many elements of scheduling, but, really excited that our guys have, whoever we play, that they've come ready, and that's again a testament to them.
Well, and certainly getting that insight about, and you mentioned Kevin App. I think one of the big things I took away from that conversation with Kevin, and I've had many a conversation with coaches, but I don't think it sometimes is bluntly said, as Kevin said, and as you now said, sometimes institutionally you're gonna get some limits, whether you want them or not. You're gonna get handcuffed. You may not believe them, or in your case, you do believe them, and I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying there are these limitations that get put in place that you're going to go only a certain distance midweek, which means then everything's on the weekend, and you only have so many options on the weekend, obviously, with everybody wanting to play. My only curiosity is, and I'm genuinely curious, I do notice you played back-to-back games on the 29th and 30th of December at your place. Obviously an indication of a tournament for those of you who are looking at schedules and don't totally see that. Have you thought, though, at the same time of going somewhere? Are you able to go somewhere other than during the Christmas holiday? So could you go somewhere in the country, somewhere in the larger region on a weekend around Thanksgiving or somewhere? Or is the academic schedule and needs of Clark just restrictive enough that that's just not a doable option for you guys?
Yeah, we definitely could travel for a weekend tournament. It's great to host the holiday tournament. Obviously gives us 2 home games and breaks up. It's a great kind of segue into NewMac play.
Absolutely.
So that was a big plus that we were able to do that this year. Previous years, I know Clark basketball has traveled throughout the country, to Vegas, to Florida, to California, to play in some tournaments, usually around the holidays. But yeah, and the other reason we decided academic calendar wise, it fit really well for us to kind of mimic our NewMac schedule and play Wednesday, Saturdays. So that was a big reason of trying to schedule that way, where we're not overloading our guys with 3 games in a week, where we can kind of break it down with 2 games in a week. And then obviously, mentioning John Jay again, you have a great alumni network in New York City. So that gave us an opportunity to go down there and have an alumni event. And, again, appreciate Ryan helping to set that up with their limitations. But then, now we'll travel next year to go up to Bates on a Saturday and again, play at a difficult non-conference game on a Saturday. So yeah, again, the multiple elements of the scheduling, we try to balance that every year. And then there's comes down to 1 or 2 games you got to fill. And then your options are really limited because of, their time frame, your time frame, and what fits. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I appreciate that insight. And again, we should point out, you took over in June 2019. So in all realities, you've had one regular season, normal season. That schedule was already set. You probably, if anything, may have had to find a game, if that.
Yeah,
then you went into the COVID year. Now you're creating a schedule coming out of that. So there's obviously an element here that you haven't been able to probably even do what you want to do necessarily. And again, as you point out, there are other priorities.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, it's a work in progress. And, adding Bates last year, John Jay, and again, many others, I think has been really good for our program. And we'll continue to build a schedule and make minor adjustments with the holiday tournament and other things to make sure we put ourselves and our guys in the best position.
By the way, I'm happy to blame Ryan Highland on this for not putting a program together that we were accustomed to after that one great year. I mean, it's clearly his fault.
No, Ryan does such a good job. He's such a good guy, and real respect for.
Yeah,
for
he's from Catholic. I'm a Goucher grad. I'm not allowed to give him any credit.
All right,
I can't, and I know he's listening, so I'm going to do that just to test him, see if I get a text message later. Let me talk about the team here, because what jumps out at me is you've got a bit of a mix. You've got some seniors and graduates on there who've obviously been with the program, wanted to come back, or transferred in who wanted to play, but you're actually led by underclassmen. It's a freshman who's scoring the most points, in Isaiah Taylor, who's played 10 games this season, starting in 9, scoring 17 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, 4 assists a game, an assist-to-turnover ratio of better than 1.5 to 1. By the way, also 4.5 steals a game. He's a freshman. You also have a sophomore, and I hope I get this right, Bruce Sainalis, 17 points a game for him as well. You also have Tyler Davern, and this is where we get to that upperclassman, a graduate, at 16 points a game. And Baiko Gaiman at 12 points a game as a graduate. We'll talk about the rest there, but that's an interesting grouping, especially coming out of this COVID flux, where you've got a freshman with I'm saying little experience in a very general sense here, leading the way in so many categories, and then you still have 4 guys in double figures with a bunch of upperclassmen too.
Yeah, first off, we're fortunate that we have a 5th-year free master's program here at Clark. So it's a great,
not too shabby.
Yeah, it's a great academic part of our curriculum, academic curriculum. Excuse me.
Sure.
So that was tremendous. It's just tremendous for our guys in every reason to be able to get 2 degrees in 5 years. So that's
awesome.
That's first and foremost. And I say that because we're fortunate to have 3 guys, Tyler, Biko, and Matt, all come back as graduate students and use their last year, their COVID year of eligibility. And I think they're leading the way in the sense that, Tyler and Biko have had great careers. In particular, Matt obviously has started and played a lot for us, and previously for Paul Phillips. But they both scored over 1,000 points, Tyler and Biko, and they just want to win. So they're not concerned about those box scores numbers and those kind of things. Like they just want to help us win, and they make winning plays, that don't show up, whether it's deflections, whether it's rotations, whether it's communicating off the court. They carry our program, and those 3, Matt, Biko, and Wet, and Tyler, we're all tri-captains for a reason. So they just do a great job with that on and off the court for our program. And it's funny, it's changed. I think our leading score has probably changed a number of times this year, just because it's, with those 4 guys in particular, it depends on the matchup, depends on, a couple of games here and there, who's leading us in that game. Bruce had 27 against MIT, and Isaiah had 24, but Biko had a number of big time plays defensively. Cho for MIT is a really tough point guard, and him and Mikey O'Brien did a great job defensively. Tyler had 4 blocks and double-digit rebounds, right? So it's kind of by committee, which is great, because it allows, instead of being singularly focused on 1 or 2 guys, it allows multiple guys, depending on matchups, depending on the defense, whatever it is, or us just that night. Some guys are feeling a little bit more, and we can go to them. So it just makes us harder to guard. And then defensively, having versatile pieces, tough guys that play hard. Isaiah's second in the country in steals right now. But us as a team, we're 3rd in the country in steals and turnovers forced. So it's much more than 1 guy, and it's much more than 4 guys. It's kind of the next man up, whoever's able to play that game, whoever's, because of COVID or other injuries, whoever's able to play and help contribute to get us that win. Really, again, it goes back to a testament to our guys that how hard they worked and their approach, to fill in those roles.
What's interesting is, again, you mentioned the change there. Taylor's at 17.2 points a game, and St. Louis is at 17.1, Davin at 15.8. So those three are, any given night that could change easily. Gaiman comes in at 12.1. By the way, St. Louis as a guard, 6.7 rebounds. We mentioned Taylor as a guard, 4.5 rebounds. And you have Davin as a forward at 7.6. And again, all of those guys are contributing in other ways. Every single one of them has more than 2 assists a game. Every single one of them has a significant number in steals, including Gaiman. And then you get to the rest of this group, and this is where more of that upperclassmen group kind of stands out. But you've got a good handful of guys who are averaging 5 points or better for the most part. So even if they're not on, there's still guys that you can kind of lean on for a couple of minutes here or a possession there or whatever to get more points, get more rebounds, whatever it needs to be. It feels like this has a bit of a good depth to it.
Yeah, 100%. Our depth, our versatility, I think, is the strongest part of our program, part of our team. Being able to play a bunch of different lineups, being able to, as fast as we play, we're somewhere in like depending on the rankings or the metrics, you look at it, we're somewhere around 82, 83 possessions per game, which is really fast. So being able to have great depth, allows us to play at that speed and gives us that advantage, where we're disadvantaged in some other ways that, our depth is a huge advantage for us. So yeah, 100%. And, with the fluctuation in rosters and who's available week by week, that's again, a testament to the guys that are, 11, 12, 13, and maybe they didn't play early on, but now we're playing more minutes. So the guys that were, 8, 9, and now they might be starting, wherever that is, our guys have really stepped up and helped contribute to our success, early on. Obviously, it's a long way to go. Preface, the 12-0 start, where we still got 13 games and a really difficult NEWMAC schedule. So, it's really early on, but really happy with our guys' approach and how hard they've worked and competed every day. Yeah,
which brings up where I wanted to go next. First, you mentioned COVID a few times. How much have you guys been impacted? Obviously, your last game against Wheaton, which was supposed to have played 2 days ago, Saturday, was postponed and hopefully to be made up at a later date. I do see it scheduled for the 17th.
Correct.
How has COVID affected you guys, and have you been able to, quote unquote, get by well so far and miss the bulk of it, or how has it played out for you guys?
It's tough. I think the first thing, Dave, is the mental aspect of it, and trying to, the last 2 years or 22 months, whatever it is now, I've used the word empathize so much with our guys. It's just really hard to put yourself, as much as I played, college basketball at Division III and coached, for the last 12, 14 years, whatever the number is, no one's been through this. No one's been through what they're going through right now. Whether they're seniors last year, whether they're high school seniors or college seniors, trying to put yourself in their shoes is really, really difficult. So, that mental toll, is something we openly talk about. We try to have conversations and try to make sure that we're available and create spaces for them to share how they're feeling, because I don't know. I've said a bunch of times, I'm throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And, and I'm open to trying to help them, obviously, any way I can. So I think the mental approach and mental aspect of it is definitely the most difficult, as well as I shouldn't say most difficult, is very difficult on top of obviously the physical aspect of it and the seriousness of the disease. So, we've had a few guys that have contracted the virus and have missed some time. Clark is doing a great job though with the testing protocols and communication, from our, upward administration to our athletic trainer to obviously our AD and myself, our associate AD, Kirsten Clark. So a lot of people have helped out and just trying us to weather the storm. But again, I just feel bad for the guys that are trying to navigate this and still trying to, play college basketball and have a great experience. So we're working through it. And everyone is, that's the other thing I told them, that everyone's going through this, so it's, can't be an excuse. We got to make sure that we're ready and for whatever comes next and be ready to adjust, because everyone's going to be, everyone's battling this and whoever adjusts better, I think we'll have a better season as we progress the next few weeks.
Sure. Hopefully things die down a little bit too, but who knows? You talk NEWMAC. Obviously, the NEWMAC is a beast. We've seen it. We've seen some really good teams come out of the New Mac, Springfield, Babson in the past. Obviously, WPI is getting top 25 attention right now. Springfield has certainly been good, though they're having a bit of an off year, but that doesn't mean a Wheaton or an Emerson or a Coast Guard can't come up and surprise somebody. And, of course, we've already mentioned MIT in this show, but Larry Anderson's not going to just be sitting around either. The New Mac's a beast. I got a couple questions on that. First, how do you see it shaping up for you guys? You're kind of on the top right now, but you're just one game in. There's a lot to play.
Yeah, 100%. We're, as coaching cliche as it sounds, we're just focused on Emerson and having a good practice tomorrow, getting ready for them on Wednesday. It's a really difficult league, and that's what's fun about it, though. Last time there was an NCAA tournament in Division III, we sent 4 teams in the NCAA tournament, which was the most in Division III in the country and half our league. So that's the fun, but also the difficult challenge of what we look at. And Kevin Jaskowitz does a great job and always makes a run, as you kind of alluded to there at Coast Guard. So, there's really good coaches, really good players, really good teams, throughout the conference. And I don't think this year is any different, with the early success of some teams non-conference, with some really good wins. I think I really like our guys, and I really like how hard we're competing. I think what they do, on a daily basis has prepared them for these games. And again, if we keep having that attitude where we're showing up and respecting every opponent, whether it's the first game of the year or what's Wednesday, game 13, where I think we're going to be in a good spot, but we always say, like, it's about us, it's about us. It's not necessarily about the other team. If we do what we do really well, we're going to feel good coming out of that 40 minutes or 40 plus minutes, whatever it is. It took 45 to get past MIT, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few more of those games on the New Mac slate that are 40 plus minutes. But anyways, yeah. So it's always a difficult conference, and that's what's fun, because we want to, you want to compete at the highest level, and when we talk about that in recruiting, and we're not shy about the standards of our program and the 16 NCAA tournaments, the 6 Elite Eights, the 2 Final Fours, that Clark's been in. That's what we had in our program. That's what the banners in our gym are about. And, to compete at that level nationally, you got to be really good in your conference. And that's what the New Mac gives us that opportunity to do.
You graduated from Trinity, so you're a NESCAC guy. I'm curious, and it's maybe a bit of a loaded question, but you follow basketball enough. I think a lot of people think NESCAC's way up here. New Mac's good, but it doesn't compare. How do they compare? Are they closer than maybe a lot of people realize? Are they maybe, a little bit apart?
Yeah, no, I think they're very similar in a lot of ways. You have great traditional basketball programs led by coaches that have had longevity for reasons, and had national success for reasons. There's definitely a difference, I think, in the conferences and us playing, round robin style. Where we have 14 conference games playing home and away, opposed to the NESCAC that, only plays, each team once. So I think that's definitely a difference in the scheduling and in the conferences. But I think the talent, guys at every, all over Division III, have gone on to play professionally, so there's really talented players in every conference. There's teams that have competed nationally, from both conferences, and showed that, obviously won national championships, but also, been to Final Fours like we have, in national championship games like we have. So yeah, recent success, it's very similar. The history, I'll leave that to guys like you and Pat to debate, a little bit further, but, obviously I'm biased, but the numbers will tell you that, we sent 4 teams to the NCAA tournament, so we played 8 games against NCAA tournament teams 2 years ago. I don't know many teams that are going to be able to say that, no matter their non-conference schedule. So again, I think that's where our conference is, and I'll leave it to you guys to debate further about the comparisons.
Oh, I was really hoping you'd just take it off our shoulders. I'm curious. Obviously, you were at Trinity. You did some coaching at Trinity. You then moved on to the Patriot League, and were a long time an assistant coach, especially at Brown. What drew you, quote unquote, back to Division III and really to Clark? And let's be honest, before you came in, this was a program that was single digit in the win column more years than it wasn't. So I'm curious what attracted you back into the division and what attracted you to Clark.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate to coach at some really good schools, really good basketball programs, and for some really good coaches. And, to me, basketball is basketball. Division 1, 2, or 3, even prep school, I've coached at all 4 levels. Basketball is basketball. So to me, it was an opportunity to be a head coach, which I think was something that I desired at some point in my career. And also I just realized the value of really good jobs that fit my personality, fit kind of my background and my beliefs, on and off the court. And Clark presented that in a big way. One, I had a connection with Wally Hallis, who obviously was a great coach, great player, great coach here, administrator, Hall of Fame, went on to coach at Columbia afterwards. One of my best friends and former teammates is John Hallis, his son. So gotcha. I had some insight into Clark. Not only did we play against them when I was an undergrad as a player, as a student athlete at Trinity, and we played against Clark every year non-conference, but with that connection through Wally Hallis, was able to gain some insight into the program. Obviously, previously with his success, going to 11 straight NCAA tournaments as a coach, and the number of players, the great players, Hall of Famers, All-Americans that he coached. So just kind of knowing that what the program was about, the opportunity to win at a national level, mixed with a great academic institution. Obviously we mentioned about the 5th-year program and the academic curriculum. We have a great alumni base. Mark Lazary, the owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, played basketball here. So always got to shout out Mark, and he does a lot for our program. But and numerous others. Kevin Cherry is on the board of trustees, and it's terrific at helping in a lot of ways, and just talking with our guys. So again, that mix of a competitive, possible, nationally competitive program that's been done before, and then a great academic institution, great administration that supports us. President Fithian, our AD Tricia Cronin, all have been really supportive. And being in Worcester, I'm a Massachusetts guy, so being in Worcester, like I love it here. It's close to some family, and I believe in the education and what the university provides. So again, that mix was, to me, it was a no-brainer. If they were dumb enough to hire me, that I jump on that right away, because it's, hey, listen, this is a great mix and a great opportunity to build something that's been done before. Sure. The road had been paved. So
yeah, it's been a while since Clark has been in the national spotlight per se. I not long enough that I don't remember. I certainly remember Clark and its great days. So I'm looking forward to seeing where you may be able to take this program. And 12-0 start. Listen, it doesn't matter what we talked about in the schedule in terms of the fact you're 12-0. You still have to go out there and win those games, and you've went out there and win those games. So congratulations on that, to say the least. I appreciate the time, especially since we're running a little later than we said we would. I appreciate you sticking around with us. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who might be tuned in?
Yeah, again, just want to say thanks again for having me on and talking about Clark basketball. As you've hopefully heard, I'm really excited about this year's team, the program, and the university, and what we're doing here. So again, appreciate the publicity and support. And again, thanks for all you do for our student athletes.
Well, thank you, Coach. Appreciate the time. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Good luck the rest of the way. Obviously, Emerson and Coast Guard coming up this week. We'll look forward to hopefully seeing you on the floor first and foremost, but then getting those games under your belt as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Coach.
Take care. Tyler Sims joining us from Clark. Again, they are 12-0 on the season. Again, Wheaton and Emerson, or Wheaton was the one that was postponed. That'll be made up on the 17th. What I meant to say is then Emerson at Clark, then back home against Wheaton. We'll see how it plays out. When we come back, Ryan Scott jumps on the line, and we talk about the top 25 and some other things. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA and NBC studios. Plenty more ahead.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
Hey, buddy, whoever you are, that person on the camera, I guess that's me. Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. How you doing? Hope you're enjoying the show. If you've got questions for us, at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville is how you can do it on Twitter. You can email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. Don't see any emails. If you tried that and it's not working, find my email on the website, and you can use that as well. Had some email problems earlier today, but they've been alleviated. Apparently, I need to delete more. Who knew? By the way, end of the show, we talk about a book that arrived today in the mail and some other little bits of business, including the fact that you may have noticed we finally figured out how to split our conversations into regions. We'll talk about how we'll do that moving forward. So every Monday, as we do, we talk top 25, and that means talking about what we love and don't love about the latest top 25 poll and who's doing what and where and how and all that fun stuff. Normally we get our friend Bob Quillman to join us. That's not going to happen today. We didn't realize Bob wasn't available until the last minute, but that doesn't mean we don't go on without it. First off, we'll get a new rotation of some other individuals who can step in to join us. But nonetheless, Ryan Scott joins us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. And sir, it's always fun to have you on the show. And even if Bob isn't here, it started with you and I, to be honest. We can always keep it moving if we have to. First and foremost, I hope you are well and that the winter last week didn't bother you too much over there on the Eastern Shore.
No, it's not too bad. I will mention I just got the dreaded weak internet connection notice here, so hopefully this will work out okay.
Well, so far so good, sir. So far so good. We'll try and set up a special internet connection for you somewhere down the road. Hey, listen, I don't want to say this week was easy because it's never easy, but I also had a whole mess of teams who did not play. Normally this time of year, we're talking about Yeshiva and how they don't play this time of year, which really, if you look at it, it's just like everybody else in December. We just don't notice it in December as much. But because of COVID, right now, we've got a bunch of postponements and cancellations. And real quick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had 8 of my top 25 from the previous poll not play. I don't think that number changed in my new ballot because I basically voted for everybody who played. And only one team played 3 games. Most teams played 1. From my perspective, there was a lot of lock them in and then kind of move some parts here and there, but there wasn't a lot of overhaul and real deep think, I don't think.
No, this was the first week that I didn't start over. I went with the top 25 that I had last week, and I just kind of moved things around a little bit. I did end up dropping 3 teams out and moving 3 new teams in, but there wasn't a ton of movement. They were all sort of near the bottom.
Don't worry, I've got a couple questions about your ballot. Little birdie told me that we'll talk about at some point, but overall, we're getting more and more teams on kind of the radar. A team like Clark was kind of flying low. Now it's kind of emerged. There's at least one person voting him 24th or two people voting him 25th. There's those details to try and hash out while also trying to figure out a team like Williams, who goes and has an interesting weekend by beating Hamilton, but then losing to Amherst. By the way, Amherst lost to Middlebury, and so you have those kerfuffles. Overall, I don't feel this way, but do you feel like your top 25 is kind of coming together, or is it still kind of all over the place?
I looking at it again, I mean, I feel pretty confident in the top 12, maybe.
Okay.
And then from there that, it's kind of a drop off of teams that I know are good, but they could be 13th and they could be 30th,
Yeah, that I can completely agree with. There's a lot of teams I could move anywhere on the darn poll and not feel confident I have them in the right spot. I guess we'll start off with our usual three and then go from there. We have our usual deep dive, dubious, and debatable. I don't even know who we're debating. I'm going to leave that one up to Ryan tonight. But we'll let you start. You can start with either dubious or deep dive. I'll let you go, or even debatable, wherever you want to go, sir. Your call.
Well, I'm going to start with my deep dive, and I'm breaking my own rule tonight. They got one vote in the poll this week.
It's okay.
I think Middlebury's a team we got to start looking at.
Okay. Give me why.
Obviously, they beat Amherst this week. Amherst did not look good in that game. But Middlebury's got a really young team, like young. I think they've only got, Alex Sobel, the big guy down low, is I think the only one who's played any meaningful minutes over at all until this season. And so, and Sobel is one of these guys who can play generally at an All-American level unless he's in foul trouble, which he is often in foul trouble, right? He's fouled out of 5 games already this year. It's hard to keep him on the floor, but like that Amherst game, he played 32 minutes. He's averaging like 4 blocks a game. He's passing the ball. He's 13, 14 rebounds a game. It's a really strong player when they can keep him on the floor. And now they've got this freshman, Sam Stevens, who's really coming along. He had a career game against Amherst. Big guard, 6'5", I think. Can shoot a little bit, and he's really starting to show up, and they're just so young. We don't know what to expect from them, and they've only lost twice, so they're looking good, and that's my deep dive. Not ready to vote for them yet, but somebody is clearly. They got a 25th place vote.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I think we might be able to know who it might be. I'd have to go back into my tweets to see. Saw a poll, a ballot earlier tonight, right around when the poll was coming out. Actually, it might have been this afternoon, where one individual said they could argue voting for 4 NESCACs. We'll get into that later. And I'm wondering if that was where that vote was, but I'm not positive.
It was not. That was 4 other NESCACs in that poll.
Oh, that's more interesting. Okay, couldn't find it, but I'll take your word for it. Listen, Middlebury, as much as they lost, I'm with you. I kind of have to wait and see. I'm not sure if I'm ready to dive in on that one just yet, but they certainly made themselves known with the win over Amherst. Granted, Amherst shot 8 for 31 from beyond the arc in that game. If they've been able to hit maybe even slightly a few more shots, that's maybe a different ball game. I don't know what to make of them. That's a good one though. I like that one because it certainly was on my radar and thought process this week myself. My deep dive's not great.
I don't think Middlebury's better than Amherst.
No, I would agree with you. That's I think where the challenge is. Are they really better than Amherst? And I'm not sure they are. And I'm not voting for Amherst right now. Yes, I know they beat Williams. I can't jump. So my deep dive, I kind of went with a team that's already been voted for, but they're not getting a ton of love right now. And it's not great because I'm struggling a little bit with the deep dive because I feel like I've got a bunch of deep dives on my ballot. Like, I think I'm responsible for half of Case Western Reserve's votes. I know I'm responsible for half of Barry's votes right now. I'm trying to just look at a couple teams that I considered deep dive and that I haven't brought up before. I've brought up Heidelberg before. And others. So I'm struggling a little bit in this department, but I've been watching DeSales. They're 13-1. Yeah, the schedule's not earth-shaking, but it's not horrible. What's struggling for them is some teams that have been routinely good, like Stevens, isn't having a great year this year. Muhlenberg, I think a lot of expectations were from. I was looking forward to seeing them on Saturday. Unfortunately, it fell through. They're 3-7 on the season. So they have some games there that just, by no fault of their own, aren't helping any voters. They do have the loss to Drew, and it didn't look good, 71-54, after beating Newman the day before by 40. I'm not voting for him. I have voted for him in the past. I'm not voting for him currently, but they're still 13-1. And I always feel that at this point in the season, to only have one or no losses, or maybe even two, you must be doing something right, even if your schedule isn't the most difficult, because if you're a really good team, you still win. And it's kind of a convoluted way of saying it. I have my eye on them. They're having a tremendous season by their standards. I can't pull the trigger yet, but I feel like we can't forget them.
And they haven't been at full strength much, right? Haven't they had some injuries to some of their
Absolutely.
stars?
They're all conference guys.
I think in and out.
Yeah, their top all conference guy. I think he's back, but they lost him for at least the opening, well, at least November, and that accounted for 6 games. And I want to say a couple of games in December too. So about half of that schedule, he wasn't even playing.
And that's what I've been waiting on is to see what they actually look like when they're at full strength and where they kind of fit in there.
I'm kind of with you there too. I had them in my top 25. I liked what they were doing. The loss to Drew, I didn't like it. 71-54 when you blew out Newman the day before, who's 8-5 on the season by 40. And listen, I'm not saying Drew's a bad team. They're 7-5. They're a good team, but that's just not a good win or a good loss. They, of course, went and spanked FTU Florham 102-63 the game after that. So they certainly got back on the horse, but they haven't played since. Again, you've got lots of reasons for that. Anyway, so they're my deep dive only because I want to make sure, they're still 13-1, and that's saying something for that program. We had them on the show earlier in the year as well. And again, I've brought up a bunch of deep dives that I'm voting for. I don't want to keep bringing back up anybody else. By the way, Case Western Reserve did beat Carnegie Mellon. I was surprised how little they got in votes for that win, but I digress.
Well, that's the debatable team I wanted to give you a chance to talk about.
Okay.
Because I know that you have them quite a bit. I don't know how far up you've got them right now, but you've got them quite a bit higher than everybody else. I'll just to lay it out for people. They've got 3 grad transfers.
Just waiting for the video. Ryan's audio has dropped out. It's all going to catch up with us very quickly here.
Along
or not.
Cole, who's been there a long time.
It's coming, folks. I know it's coming.
It's a team that they've even done. They should have great.
No, we lost them completely. Oh, that's unfortunate. We will keep the window going here. Hold on a second. Sorry, folks. I had my mic off the whole time. Due to those technical issues, I've been talking and you've just been seeing my mouth move. You didn't miss anything. All right, so what I was talking about was basically the 3 graduate students that Case Western has, plus what else they have on this team. You have Mike Pendergrass, who played at Marist, right? Was it Marist? Mercer, apologize. He played at Mercer. He played 18 games there. You have Brian Hines, who came from Franklin and Marshall, and you have Griffin Cornicker, who came from Middlebury. Those are the 3 big graduate students who have fit into the program very nicely. Pendergrass, 17 points a game. Cornicker, 8 points a game. Hines, 8 points a game. Pendergrass is also pulling down 3 rebounds a game, got 3 assists per game and a steal and a half per game. Cornicker's got 4 rebounds a game and a staggering 6.6 assists per game. He's got a assist to turnover ratio of 2.5 to 1. Plus he gets about a steal and a half a game. And Hines pulls down 6 rebounds, also has an assist to turnover ratio of 4.5 to 1 because he doesn't have a lot of assists, but he doesn't turn it over. He's also pulling down an assist and a half a game, and he gets about a block and a half a game. And then you talk about the underclassmen. You've got Cole Frilling, a junior, 15 points a game while shooting 51% from the floor, 29% from deep, and 82% free throw shooter. He's also pulling down 8 rebounds a game, and he's got 2.5 assists per game. You've got Robert Fowler, 11-plus points a game, shooting well at nearly 50%. He also pulls in 3.5 rebounds a game. He's got 2.5 assists per game. You also have Ryan Newton, a senior, 9.5 points a game, 54.4% from the floor. And also on top of that, 3.5 assists as well. Rebounds, 3.5 rebounds. And everybody's shooting well. They're shooting 49% as a team. Pendergrass, Frilling, Fowler, Newton, Cornicker, and Hines are all shooting better than 49%, and Hines shooting 64%. It feels like this team has come together as a unit much better than I thought under Todd McGinnis. And listen, I've picked Todd's brain about what's going on, and I have this feeling that he felt he had a good team, but he didn't know how it would gel. He didn't know how it was all going to come together, and it's come together beautifully for him. And I think that's the biggest key for what they're doing so far. And again, playing well. Yes, they had a loss to Eau Claire. We'll get Todd McGinnis on the show at some point to talk about that loss. I can tell you he's got some thoughts. They lost by 14. That was the first game of the season. They've beaten St. John Fisher, Denison LaRoche, Teal, Otterbein, who's having a really good season. I think that one is being not quite grasped. Otterbein's 10-3 in the season, and they beat Otterbein by 11. Hamilton's not having as great a season this year, but they beat Hamilton nonetheless. Hamilton's 6-6. They beat John Carroll, and it was a drubbing. They beat Adrian Kalamazoo, Hilbert, and now they get this win, granted at the buzzer, but on the road at Carnegie Mellon. That's kind of where I sit with all of that. And now back joining us, now that his system is back up and working properly, is Ryan. And don't worry, Ryan, I had to repeat myself, at least to myself, because I somehow killed my mic when I went to answer everything while you were gone. So I've just repeated everything. But what I was saying about Carnegie is not only have those 3 graduate guys come in and played really well and gelled with this team, but they've got seniors and even juniors and others who are playing well. They're all shooting very well, and they're getting some sneaky good wins, including wins over Otterbein, Carnegie. Sorry, I was talking about Case Western, but they beat Carnegie. And yes, the Eau Claire loss stinks, but when we get Todd McGinnis on the show later, he'll explain why he hates that game in all kinds of ways, and maybe explain why they lost it away. I think they're better than even Todd McGinnis was expecting, and I know he downplayed it to me in the preseason. That's why I am all in on Case Western right now, and I have them 9th. Now we get to see if Ryan's audio
That's why I wanted to debate a little bit. I think they're very good, and I just want to see them play a little bit. They got Emory and Rochester coming up, and that'll give us a little bit more of a barometer.
Yeah, they have New York this weekend, then Emory Rochester the next weekend. Yep.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Does the win over Carnegie mean anything?
See what happens. It's a great team.
Little breakup again. Oh, there you go. You're back. You seem
I mean,
like
it's big for their Pool C chances for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And at this, yeah, it's big for the Pool C chances. And at this point, that's what we have to. I mean, that's what they're playing for, and we'll have plenty of time to figure out how good they actually are when they get into conference play.
Yeah, and I think the win over Otterbeин's big. I had been leaning on the Hamilton win, though the Hamilton win isn't as strong as it had been. The win over John Carroll, I think, is significant as well. So those are kind of the wins that I'm looking at and going, okay, listen, not bad. Now I know John Carroll's 6-7. I get it, but it's still good wins for a team that's playing at a really high level. Listen, they haven't had a game under 76 points. And that's the only game in the 70s. They really, if you take that game out, they're scoring 83 or more points a game. I mean, they are clicking. So that's where I'm at. I don't know if I changed any minds, but yeah, I have them 9th. Pat, trust me, Pat checked with me. He literally messaged me today, goes, did you mean to have Case at 9? And I thought because I put someone stupid in there that I'd misdragged a name. I'm like, yeah, no, who did I put in there? He goes, no, you did. I just wanted to make sure that's who you meant. You have them significantly higher than anybody else. And I said, I realize that. I like them. I like where they are. I quickly before we go to dubious, right? Let's see. Yeah, dubious.
Yeah.
Since we're debatable, I want to bring back one we debated last week because a little birdie told me you moved them up. That you moved up Tufts. And they hadn't even played any games. So I'm dying to know why 4-7 Tufts is moving up your ballot.
Well, I dropped Whitworth a few spots. So everybody moved up one spot. It was not just a whole thing. I watched that Whitworth game and I felt like I'd had him a little bit too high. So it wasn't that I was intentionally moving anybody up. I just moved Whitworth down a few spots.
Okay. I only moved one team that I believe I only moved one team up. I'm quickly looking at my do not play notes, and everybody's moved. The only one I moved up was Elmhurst. And again, as you said, it was about moving somebody near them down. I moved Hardin Simmons down. Everybody else played that I moved. I still think you're crazy, and I'd wait longer before I'm buying into Tufts. But you explained it last week, and if anybody missed it, they can go to last Monday's show and listen to your reasonings on why you're voting for a 4-7 team. I don't even know where you have them. I know it's not high, but they're on there.
Yeah, they have crept up to number 16 right now. So.
That's higher than I thought they were. That's not creeping up, sir.
It's higher than they were, and now they're just a little bit higher. So,
listen, if you had them 25 or 24, I'd give it to you. 16?
Once you get past that number 12 spot, I really am lost at who should be there and who shouldn't. So
see, that's I find that interesting. And I know my top 10 isn't exactly like everybody else's. I have a few teams that are high. Case Western Reserve, for example, I have them 9. I think I was told nobody else has them higher than 21. So I get that fills in my top 15 or so with some strength with names that would move others down. But I mean, teams like, well, I guess I could see your point. If you're voting for Maryville, you probably aren't sure where to put them. Are you scratching your head about a Hopkins and a Mount Union and a Wartburg? I'm just guessing.
So I can tell you. So I've got 13. I have Oswego right now, who I think is really good.
You have Oswego 13.
They've not played a ton out of region, right? They're I don't know how to judge them other than looking at them. I think they're pretty good. They've won most of their games. And then after that, I've got Elmhurst, which I'm very dubious about, but they've got a strong team. They've got some wins. I'm not sure where to go with that. I've got RPI in there, who hasn't played a good team with their full roster yet. I don't know where to put them. And then I've got Tufts behind them. I've got Maryville, who I think is much better on paper than I've seen them play. And so I'm a little dubious about that. And I've got Roanoke and Amherst and Hardin Simmons. I've got all these teams that should be a little better than what they've shown on the floor. And so I don't really know where to put anybody.
That's fascinating because all the teams you just mentioned are teams I either have in the lower quarter of my poll or not at all.
Yeah.
I want to vote for Oswego, but as I said on last week's show, because I think highly of Oswego too, but if I'm going to vote for Oswego, I got to vote for RPI and Nazareth too, because we had the A beat B beat C beat A scenario, and I can't break it out. Oswego's, listen, having a great season. They just beat they didn't just beat St. Lawrence. They beat St. Lawrence a week ago, 74-60. They'll get into conference play, hopefully. The SUNYAC's a little bit of a mess right now, and that will give us a little bit more. But I agree with you. But if I was going to vote Oswego, I had to somehow get RPI and Nazareth in, and I don't have room for all three. But that's interesting because then you mentioned Elmhurst. I got him 21. You mentioned Hardin Simmons. I've got him 23. I've got Williams 24. I don't know who else you mentioned off the top, but those are just ones. Well, and the other ones I'm not voting for RPI right now. So interesting.
We're going to get a lot this week if all the games happen, right? We're going to see a whole bunch of high level games. We're going to know a lot more. I'm really hoping that I'll have a lot more confidence next week. I think at this point, when I've got, 20 teams for 10 spots, I'm kind of going with teams that have a track record, right? Teams that, have put together good programs and, they're winning this year, but you kind of have a little more confidence because they win every year.
Yeah, fair. No, I see your point, but it also shows how voters can be all over the place. All right. Dubious. Yep. I'm curious what your dubious is.
So this one isn't quite fair because I'm not really dubious, but Johns Hopkins, I did not understand their high ranking 2 years ago, and I didn't quite get the preseason ranking this year. I think they've played excellently. When I've watched them play, I've become a believer. I've got them sitting at number 12. I think they're solidly in that top tier of teams. I don't have a problem with that. I do think they're a very different team when the transfer Lincoln Yetter is playing than when he's not. And he's missed the last couple of games, and they've got Swarthmore tomorrow. And so that's really what I'm dubious about, is if he's playing or not, and they've got the team that can I have become a believer, but I'm also haven't seen it proven out yet.
Who are you talking about playing again? Remind me.
Hopkins.
No, the player.
Oh, it's Lincoln Yetter. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name.
No, I know who you're talking about. I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page with you.
Yeah,
I've got him up. I've got them currently. They were 16th. Now they're 15th. That's about where I feel comfortable with them. I have Swarthmore off my ballot, kind of part and parcel to a point you made earlier this season about their strengths or lack thereof, and I certainly buy it. Listen, I think when you got a guy like Connor Delaney on your squad and stirring the drink, I feel good about it. But they also have a guy named Tom Quarry I've seen play, and I love. By the way, he shoots 91% from the free throw line. So if you're going to foul Quarry, you're screwed. He shoots 46% from the floor. He shoots 44% from deep. If he's rolling from deep, now you got a problem, because you're either going to have to stop Connor Delaney, who's always scoring almost 20 points a game and shooting 46% from the floor while handing out the most assists on the team. I can't do the math real quick. Oh, it's 10 games. It's 4.4. 4.4 assists, 2.2 steals per game, 4.2 rebounds a game. If you're going to try and stop Delaney, then Quarry's going to get you. I agree with you with Lincoln. I do want to see what he brings to the table, but they're clearly getting contributions from other guys that I think make them really good. By the way, Sidney Tyball's going to have to fix his free throw shooting. If anyone hasn't seen that number,
well,
go check it out.
I think with a lot of those guys that they're relying on past Delaney and Quarry, we saw so much promise with them 2 years ago.
Yes.
Right? The last time we had a full season.
Yes.
They were a lot of raw talent that we thought needed some minutes. And then COVID happens, and they haven't been able to get minutes over the last 2 years.
No, I don't.
So I'm just interested
fair
to
point.
see
fair
what
point.
happens when they come up against a really good opponent, and how they've adjusted and grown. It's not that I'm saying they're not very good. I'm not sure we've seen all the evidence we need just yet.
Fair. I mean, they beat they lost to Christopher Newport in the opener by 2. That was at Christopher Newport. Yep. That's their only loss. They're 9-1.
Yep.
Spanked Salisbury, handled York, handled St. Mary's, beat a Gettysburg team that everybody was all up about in this region. I didn't quite understand, but handled a Gettysburg team in the first game of conference play. beat Lyco by 30, beat Washington College, who Yeshiva struggled against, by 31, and beat Muhlenberg back on December 4th by almost 20 points. They handled Dickinson, and they handled Haverford. What I'm seeing there is a team that is really good and handling opponents that were maybe some were supposed to be better than they were given credit, or they are as good, and Hopkins is making them look foolish. I agree with you. The game against Swarthmore is huge, because that's going to be a good barometer for both Swarthmore and Hopkins. And then I hopefully will see them. I won't see them as soon as I want to. I won't see them until the 2nd of February. But unfortunately, Hopkins isn't allowing fans, or I try and sneak in there sooner to see them. But I'm going to try and watch a little bit more video now that I got some extra free time coming up. Lost my game on Wednesday. But I just think they're a sneaky good team. If you're talking about a team that do a deep dive on who's in the top 25 and seems to be flying on a radar, Hopkins would be my choice, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
My dubious team, and really, you guys have nailed a lot of good ones this year, so I don't have a lot of good picks. I mentioned Marietta last week. They're sitting in 8th. I'm a little skittish. I'm a little surprised Oshkosh didn't take a bigger hit, falling down to 6th, because I thought the loss to Whitewater, granted it's WIAC play, and I didn't kill them hard. I moved them down one spot. I thought other voters would. I'm just so used to other voters. I don't want to rehash the Swarthmore conversation because they're sitting in 16th, and I kind of agree with you. They haven't done much to prove much. So I'm kind of lost on what to do with a dubious, except for this. The NESCAC. And I don't want to harp on the NESCAC. But when I saw Mike Rainiac say he could put 4 NESCAC teams in, I had to turn off Twitter for a little bit today. I just cannot see the argument. And Kevin App's statement that one, schedules we love one year, we hate the next, he might have a point there. It might be worth double checking how we grade some schedules, but also that some of those schools are very much restricted on where they can go play during the academic year. I think those are 2 valid points. But 4 NESCAC teams, even 3 in a top 25 ballot, to me seems really dubious. Am I missing something, Ryan?
Well, I think what we have here is what we don't normally see out of the NESCAC, is that you've got a number of teams that seem pretty loaded that just are not playing up to the level they're capable of. Usually we see these NESCAC teams kind of roll through the easy early schedules, and then they hit conference play and they're sharp. And these are really high quality games. And what we saw this last weekend with the NESCAC games is they were not super high quality. These guys were not clicking on all cylinders. I think this Amherst team can be very, very good, but they were a mess at Middlebury. Well, and I didn't think they played super great at Williams either.
Yes. Kevin App said that they're a dangerously good team, and I agree. I see what he's saying there, but I agree with you. That was a lousy game against Middlebury, and what I watched of the Williams game, I was more surprised by what Williams wasn't able to do than I was with Amherst, because Amherst, it felt like they nearly blew the game away at the end. Like they almost gave it back to Middlebury. Back to Williams. Granted, at Williams, but it's not like the crowd was there, so it's not like it's a bad place to be playing. Who else are we going to vote for, though? Wesleyan I voted for. I put Williams and Wesleyan 24 and 25. I can't argue to put Amherst in. I know what you're saying about Middlebury. They're not touching it. Who else are we voting for? Colby?
Well, and so this is the thing is I had 4 in last week, and I dropped Williams and Wesleyan out this week. And I'm voting for Amherst and Tufts. So, and somebody voted for Middlebury. And so there's 5 teams getting votes. And I think it is much more what you think they can do. And, and to be honest, that's how lots of people are voting on teams with weak schedules, right? Swarthmore, we saw that with Yeshiva, right?
Absolutely.
Like you're saying when they're at their best, this is a top whatever team. We just are not used to not seeing the NESCAC teams at their best. And we just haven't. I don't think we've seen any of them play a great game this year.
What I think is surprising about that is coming into the season, we all Well, I thought we all had an understanding that the NESCAC wasn't going to be what we were used to. That the NESCAC, after going through COVID, you can't hold on to some guys. You're going to lose some talent. They went through a whole host of coaching changes in that year and a half, whatever you want to call it. Listen, I lowered my bar of expectations. I'm surprised that we're at this point, and it feels like voters are voting on him as if it's 2019. And maybe I've got this misread completely. I think Williams is a good team, not great. Wesleyan has impressed me. Amherst is streaky. Middlebury, you got me now thinking about. I'm not buying into Tufts yet. I'm not going there. I am not going into Tufts. So that gives me maybe 3 teams. I know that, Connecticut College is trying to play. I think they've lost like 5 of their last 6 games to COVID. I know Bowdoin's having an okay year at 9-4. Trinity's 6-3. Bates is 5-4. Colby's 7-6. Hamilton's 6-6. I'm just surprised. Well, we'll see. Anyway, that was kind of where I wanted to go with dubious was, am I wrong or are we crazy right now with an NESCAC? And granted, they may make 4 teams in the NCAA tournament and all get to the Elite 8 and we're all sitting there shaking our heads.
And I also think this is a different year. I think in what we would consider a normal year, the way these NESCAC teams are playing would not be worthy of rankings. But if you look at the teams ranked currently, like
weird.
16 through 25, and you say that team plays Amherst tomorrow, they're definitely going to win. And I just don't think you're going to want to take those bets, right? Like if you're putting money on that, Williams and Wesleyan and Amherst are all right in the mix there. And I think perhaps, at least at this point in the season, the teams that we're looking at in maybe 20 through 25 are just maybe not the level that we would normally think they are. And so it's a down year for the NESCAC, but the rest of the country hasn't quite solidified yet either.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It's a down year, and so people are just going back to not their safety nets, but their usuals that they not assume, but they feel comfortable with. I don't know. I listen, our top 25s are drastically different. And by the way, I keep wanting to blog mine out. Last week got too crazy. I don't know if I'll get to it this week. And I don't look at other people's ballots because I don't want to see how other people are voting, which is why I didn't know how Mike Rainiac voted. But interesting. I appreciate the chat about it because that to me, to have more than maybe 2 in the NESCAC in your top 25 feels dubious to me. So I saw the comment about could argue he could have 4, and I went, whoa, that's almost a fifth of your poll. So anyway, was there anything else you wanted to bring? I know you brought up Case Western. Was there something else or anything else we may have missed?
No, I think because of all the cancellations and postponements, we didn't have as many games this week as we were hoping to, and this should be a big week coming up. So I think we'll have a lot more to talk about next Monday.
Knock on wood. We'll see if these games get played or what other games get dropped. I think we're going to be a little bit all over the place for the next few weeks and then finally settle down a bit. Anything else you're looking forward to? Anything else you want to bring up? I'll leave the floor to you, sir.
Other than this coming Saturday is a huge day. I put it in my Around the Nation column that came out last week. If all these games get played, there's just going to be wall-to-wall, high-quality basketball from about noon to midnight across the country, men and women.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I'm supposed to have a game on Saturday. We'll see. I got two schools that can have games on Saturday. We'll see which one I end up going to. It's crazy, man. It's going to be one of those years, I think, I'm prepping for 2 different schools, and whichever one has a game I end up showing up at. Well, I appreciate the time. Sorry for the tech issues, my man. Maybe we'll try and work on that in the background. But appreciate it. It was a fun chat. Do you have any comments for Bob for backing out on us? I mean, I know he's traveling, but I think you dedicate yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess as much as I love doing this, Dave, I don't know if I'm choosing this over food, which it seems like was his choice tonight. So that was.
I know I didn't choose it over food.
I'm a big fan of eating. That's
fair, sir. Oh, well, hey, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks. And great articles so far this year. Been fun. If you get a chance, read Ryan's stuff on d3hoops.com. Take
we
care
got
of
a great
yourself, sir.
one
I'll talk
coming
to you
this
soon. What?
Great one coming this week. So I think Wednesday it should be up.
Well,
and,
give a little tease.
It'll be a good one.
Give a tease.
So it's going. We have the top 10 D3 alums professional careers.
Love it. I saw you working
I've ranked
on that one.
the
Yeah, I saw you.
guys. All the way back to the 70s and forward to present day. The best pro careers out of D3 basketball alums. So I'm excited about it, and should be a good one.
Didn't realize that was coming out so soon. I know you had the work you've been doing on that.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna be fun. That'll be fun. Awesome, bud. Take care of yourself.
All right. Have a
Ryan
good night.
Scott joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline. Sorry for the tech issues there, folks, and sticking with us on the live there. I think I'm just overthinking how I'm producing on my show, basically, of that. So we're not going to take a break. I'm just going to wrap things up here. Let me take a quick look at scores, because I did see some scores came in tonight, I should say, from around the country. So let's just take a look at things. St. John's and St. Olaf are at halftime last time we checked. By the way, there's another team we talked about. I'd like to see where they go. Wow, what happened? I don't have... Oh, here we go. Looking at stats real quick. Oh, that game's almost over, and Olaf made it a game. At halftime, it was a 10-point game. St. Olaf's won the second half. It is a 6-point lead for St. John's, 72-66. But it looks like St. John's going to hold off because there's 12 seconds left to go in that one. Carrollton is going to beat Hamlin, it looks like. I could be wrong there. I don't have the latest score on that. That's why. Oh, God, I hate these video. I hate the stats through video. Drives me insane. I don't see that game. Am I looking at men or women? That's men. So where's that game? Oh, here it is. Nope. Oh, where the heck? This is crazy. Sorry, folks. A little delay. Here it is. Hard to find the link for that. Carrollton wins that game, 62-46. Not much of a game there. Let's see. I thought I spotted something that caught my head. University of New England beat Curry 80-72. Clarkson got a win today over Canton. Hiram beat Kenyon. Oh, there it is. Hope beat Trine in men's basketball. Trine listen, folks, to be blunt, Trine had a good year last year. Hey, hats off to them on the 17-1 campaign. They're 8-5 this season. They had a 3-game winning streak, which followed a 3-game losing streak. They lost to Heidelberg Lacrosse Anderson, then beat Stevens Point Concordia Albion, now loses to Hope, 61-48. Hope in the meantime. So Trine's 8-5. Hope is 9-4. The MIAA race is interesting. Hope's on top right now at 2-0. Calvin, Trine, Albion, Kalamazoo, Olivet, and Adrian all 1-1. 3 teams above 500. Trine, Calvin, and Hope. I'm not expecting a ton out of the MIAA, but that's an interesting result there. We'll keep an eye on how the MIAA plays out. But I don't think Trine was ever as good as everyone anticipated. They just had a kind of they caught magic in a bottle. They caught lightning in a bottle last year. Carnegie Mellon beat La Roche 80-57. That was a makeup game. I know teams are looking for makeups all over the place. In women's basketball, Pomona-Pitzer, Cal Lutheran in a good game with about a minute left in that one. It's Pomona-Pitzer by 10. And that's a final. Pomona-Pitzer wins 71-57 in that one. Whittier and Claremont Mudd Scripps are playing tonight in women's basketball. Oh, it looks like it's not going to start for another 20 minutes, actually. So never mind. I apologize. University of New England beat Curry easily. Methodist beat Guilford in women's basketball. Scranton over Clark Summit, but just by 13. Scranton women I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to deep dive on them a little bit, but it doesn't feel like they're as strong as we're accustomed. Granted, I could just be misreading that, but Scranton women on the season, 10-2 overall, 2-0 in conference play. They're tied with Moravian in conference play. Moravians, by the way, 4-9. Drew is 10-0 on the season, 1-0 in conference play. Catholics 10-1, 1-1. So that might just be that Scranton's being kind of overshadowed a little bit on the year. Trinity, Texas with a big win over Howard Payne, and I mean by points. It was a 32-point win. North Central Minnesota got past Minnesota Morris, but it needed overtime to do it. Other games that we just haven't gotten score updates from, so nothing jumped jumps out at me all that necessarily. So anyway, Ryan apologizes for all those tech glitches. Seems like maybe Google was acting up, which I can totally believe. Quickly going to check to see if you have any other comments or any other thoughts before we log off here. Appreciate all you who did tune in and kind of mention my audio wasn't working. We'll try and find a better way. By the way, if anybody listened to the D3Hoops.com Classic, I should say, in Las Vegas, you'll know Gordon Mann was talking about how everybody got their mascot or where their mascot originates from. I went as a result and bought the book, Griffins, Gorlocks, and Gusties. It's written by a former Division III sports information director and Chris Pio. I'm definitely going to have fun with this one, reading through it and looking up stuff. Like, for example, we had Barry on the show today. Their mascot is the Vikings. I just had it. Here we go. Mascot is Victor. The costume is a Viking. Victor the Viking is the name of a Barry costume mascot, which features a very bushy mustache, Neil-lace sandals, and a traditional Viking helmet. The Nordic theme carries over to the Barry football facility, referred to as Valhalla Stadium, in honor of the mythical Hall of Heroes killed in battle. They are called the Vikings, name chosen in 1962 through a campus contest initiated by the college's first full-time athletic director, Garland Dickey, who graduated in 1942. So just some of the little nuances you can learn about Division III nicknames and mascots. Griffins, Gorlocks, and Gusties. Maybe we'll reach out to Chris Pio, and when we do the marathon show, maybe we'll talk to him about that book. But that is now, if it's not going to be sitting in our bookshelf, which is back there, we'll have it on hand so that we can talk about mascots and stuff in there too, about everybody we have. So that's fun. And Gordon is the reason for that. So we thank him for that. Popper says food always has a strong offensive efficiency, especially chillin'. Or chillin', I hope that's right. And Matt Snyder says food is always high on my ballot. Well, I don't disagree, folks. I don't disagree at all. Missed Bob today. He was traveling. We didn't realize that. No big deal. It did force me to go out and reach out to some individuals about joining us on the show, either instead of Ryan or Bob, or maybe we'll add a third occasionally. It needed to be done and just wasn't done. Bob's absence tonight forced it. So we've at least reached out to individuals about having them on future shows. And we only reach out to those who out themselves as top 25 voters. I don't want to reach out to somebody who hasn't done that and out them for themselves or force that issue. So we've reached out to that. And in the meantime, we're in the process of reaching out to women's individuals for a top 25. I really want to debut it on Thursday, a top 25 double take on the women's side. I got some ideas that we're going to reach out to individuals, see where we can get them to fit in, and see where it goes from there. So there you go. I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. We went way long, mainly because of tech issues and some other things. But I want to thank Klay Knueppel from Wisconsin Lutheran, Trevor Lydic from Barry, Tyler Sims from Clark, of course, Ryan Scott from D3Hoops.com. Also want to thank all the sports information directors at Wisconsin Lutheran, Barry, and Clark for helping us with this program, including Brian, Jim, and Adam. Really appreciate their time and help, especially today with my email challenges. We had some email issues, and they all were patient with me, and I really appreciate that. That'll do it. We'll be back on the air Thursday. Just so you know, here's how we now break things down. The top 25, not top 25, but if you remember when we did interviews in the past, we broke them down by region. We had 4 regions on per show. On Sundays, which is now Mondays, we would have the Northeast, the Atlantic, the South, and the Central. Thursdays, we would have the East, the Mid-Atlantic, Great Lakes, and West. So what I did was I kind of took that idea and figured out how can we do it. So Mondays, we will now have regions 1, 2, 4, 6, and 8. We will not have interviews or segments on all 5 of those. Regions 1 and 2 are basically going to be hybrided together as one region. But that covers the Northeast. Region 4 covers the Atlantic. Region 6 covers the South. And Region 8 covers the Central. On Thursdays now, we'll have regions 3, 5, 7, 9, and 10. Region 3 essentially covers the East. Region 5 covers the Mid-Atlantic. Region 7 covers the Great Lakes. And Region 9, 10 will cover the West. So that's how we're going to do it. If you don't know how we do our guests, if we have a guest from a region who is a men's program, the next guest we have from that region will be a women's program. If we had a guest from a particular conference, it won't be from that conference the next time. and vice versa. If we had a women's coach from Region 1-2 this week, which we did when we had a men's, we would have a men's coach on, or a men's program on the next time. If we had somebody from the NUMAC, which we did this week, we would not have someone from the NUMAC next week. And we don't always guarantee those regions. So we didn't have anybody today, for example, from the Atlantic region. So maybe next week we'll have someone from the Atlantic, and we either skip the South, or we skip the Central, or we skip the Northeast. So that's how we're going to break it down. It probably was a lot easier than we figured it would be. Just took us a little longer to get there. So Thursday, regions 3, 5, 7, 9, and 10 will be our focus. We'll get guests on from those segments, and we'll hopefully debut our women's top 25 double take as well. And there you go. Don't forget to stay with d3hoops.com, of course, on Twitter at d3hoops, on Facebook at facebook.com/d3hoops, or stay with us at d3hoopsville on Twitter, www.d3hoopsville.com. You can also find us on d3hoops at d3hoops.com/hoopsville. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/hoopsville, etc. We're on Instagram. We're the only ones on Instagram at d3hoopsville, that we do promotional stuff mainly there, not interactions all that much. And, of course, email, hoopsville at d3sports.com. If that's not working, you're welcome to email us at our regular email address, which will, which you can find on the website. Also, I've had a number of coaches reach out talking about uniforms or other things that they want to send to the studios. Please feel free. It is an open invitation to anybody who wants to send swag to be put up in our studio. We're probably going to move the framed uniforms to somewhere else because the reflections drive me nuts, but we got great places to hang those up. Of course, that center and that Ohio Wesleyan jerseys are sentimental for different reasons. So is the Greenville one. So we'll hang up uniforms. We'll put them up if you send them to us. If you send us swag, we'll find ways to showcase it. As you can tell, we have all kinds of swag. If you didn't notice, there was also even a Wisconsin Lutheran bobblehead sitting in the background today. If you got it, let us know. If you need an address, please let us know. Send us a note. Coaches know how to even text me. I am happy to give you our address and send it on our way. Those have also asked out about donations, whether they can help the program. We are more than happy to take donations. We're very, very much appreciate that. We hope to put out a link also of equipment that we're looking to purchase for the show or for our remote work account or the Hoopsville account. There's a tips option there, and you can use either Venmo or Cash App to send a donation if you want. We also on d3hoopsville.com or d3hoops.com/hoopsville. We also have still our donation link there, though we got to overhaul that page a bit, and I haven't gotten to it. But there is a fundraising thing in there. It's stuck. We can't get rid of it for some reason. I can't figure it out. But there is something in there, I think. What is it for? I think it's for Venmo. I'm looking at it right now real quick. Right under the columnist section, there's a donate button through PayPal. That's how you can use it. Ignore the fundraising thing. I can't seem to get rid of it. We're working on it. There's a bunch of things you might notice that are missing on that page. Working to update that sometime in the near future. That'll do it. Really long show. Really apologize. Really long last segment. Really apologize for you podcast listeners. We'll sign off till Thursday. We'll be back at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. You've been listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. I want to thank our partners at the National Association of Basketball Coaches and the Women's Basketball Coaches Association as well for their help, their support, and, of course, someone we can lean on as well. And I can't thank enough Blue Frame Technology for not only being a sponsor of this show in terms of our hotline, but being a platform for our streaming capabilities and needs. And they are more than helpful, and we really appreciate it. Look forward to working with them down the road. If you ever decide to change your streaming platform, whether it's using the Team One Sports app to broadcast on Roku, Amazon TV, Apple TV, or Android TV, or it's just the Team One Sports app to broadcast on a mobile device or computer, please tell them you heard about them on the show or that I sent them your way. I would appreciate it because it tells them that this is a worthy venture to get involved with. That's it for the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. We will see you back here Thursday night, 7 o'clock Eastern. Good night, everybody.